Hello, my friends. Welcome back to another episode of I'll Call You Right Back podcast with me, your host. My name is Chad Medved. This is my podcast, and it is a special day. Today, I have successfully completed 32 years around the sun. I'm not someone who gets weird about my birthday at all. You know, I'm not like someone who is like, oh my God, I'm getting so old, but you got to be real with it. 32, it's pretty wild. I remember whenever my dad turned 40, and I remember my mom took something out, like put an ad in the Daily News in McKeesport, and it said, Lordy, look who's 40, Rick Medved. And it's just weird to think about it because 8 years from now, I'm going to be 40, and it's just like, I don't know, it's kind of weird to think about, but another great week coming in. I'm feeding the good wolf. I'm trying to keep myself, fit mentally, and enjoying things. And yeah, it's my birthday today. I'm pumped about it. It's the first time an episode fell on my birthday, and I'm just happy about it. Got some cool stuff planned. Taking Friday off work. Getting a little crazy. Gonna get a bike ride in with one of my good buddies from Atlanta. He's coming back up here, and we're just gonna go out and ride around on Friday. Might rain, might not. Who cares, right? It's just we're just living the dream here. That's what we're trying to do. But thank you all for listening to the podcast. I each and every week, I'm pumped about it because, I keep seeing, I'd probably still be doing this if people wasn't listening, to be honest, just because I got nothing better to do. But it is pretty awesome to see the numbers going up. This is a record-setting month with listens, and I'm pumped about it, little milestone for me on my birthday, and thanks for that. But thank you to Turner Dairy Farms, the creators of Turner's Premium Iced Tea. Continue to stand behind me and be a proud sponsor of this podcast. And, I'm just thankful for that. All the time, I'm thankful for it because, like I said a million times on here before, it's just cool to be able to say that I get to work with Turner's Tea. But the reason that everyone is here this week I sit down with a very special guest. I think that she probably has the best name of anyone that I've ever had on this podcast. Anaïs Saint-André Loughran. And I'm obviously not pronouncing it as nice as it should properly be pronounced, but this week I sit down with Anaïs, who is the owner, co-owner, I guess, with her husband of Chantal's Cheese Shop in Bloomfield, and it is, it was a great week. She came in and she brought me 5 different cheeses. We sit down, we bust open these cheeses. We sit down and we have a Saison from Trace Brewing, and we just kind of unpack her life. Anaïs is from France. She was born in France, lived in France up until college. Then she moved to California, and then she moved to New York, and then she ended up in Pittsburgh. But I wanted to get her in here to talk to her about it. A person from across the pond who is living in Pittsburgh, experiencing Pittsburgh, and, it would be interesting for me to hear about someone's mindset of Pittsburgh, who wasn't born here, let alone born in another country. And I was excited to sit down and talk with her and eat cheese with her and pick her brain about all these cheeses that she brought me. And, it was just a fun time. So this week we sit down and we talk about, how someone becomes a cheesemonger. We talk about how someone, like we talk about all the time on here, how do people end up where they are? People aren't just, they don't just grow up thinking I'm going to be a cheesemonger. I want to know how that happens. And for Anaïs, it's a little bit different, and it is, it's a pretty touching story, and it's a story of someone who's just was just like, I'm interested in cheese. I want to work in cheese. And that's what she did. And her husband ended up in Pittsburgh, opened their shop, and they just been building a life ever since. And, it was just a really great conversation. I'll tell you, it got to be a great conversation because it was over 2 hours. We just couldn't stop talking. She was great. But I will quit talking your ear off because I know we got a long one this week. Thank you again for everyone that is here. I urge you to go over to their Instagram at Chantal's Cheese. ChantalsCheese on Instagram. They have a link in their bio. You could go on this link. She does classes. They do all types of specialty cheeses in their shop in Bloomfield. I urge you to go check it out there. And I'm just, I'm excited for this episode. So without further ado, episode 210 of I'll Call You Right Back podcast with Anaïs from Chantal's Specialty Cheese Shop.
Telephone.
Hello?
Telephone.
I'll call you right back. Call you right back.
Telephone.
I'll Call You Right Back podcast. It's official, right?
Oh, hi.
Is that too loud? Does that sound all right?
No, that sounds great.
Okay.
I always love podcasts. You sound always sexier when you speak in a mic.
See, some people hate hearing their own voice, and you're probably the first person that likes hearing their own voice through a microphone.
I didn't say I like hearing the sound of my voice.
Yeah.
It sounds sexier, but doesn't
It's
mean
crispy.
I like it.
Crispy. That's how I always feel it is because, if you're just talking without headphones on, you don't get you don't get 100% of the word.
Mm-hmm.
Things fall off, trail off, your memory goes away. But if it's I never really understood why it was such an important thing for people to talk with headphones on. But, after you do it for a while, it kind of keeps you in, you're not distracted from every little thing.
It's like singing. Some people
Yeah.
to get tuned, they just put their hand and you actually can hear your voice go back.
Yeah, or you see the radio DJs who only have one headphone on. It's crazy. I never understood it until now. But I very much appreciate you taking the journey from the city out into the outskirts. Do you frequent out here a lot? No? I don't blame you. But, okay, so you are a cheese shop owner.
Yes.
What is your cheese shop?
Hi. So my name is Anaïs.
Yes.
And I'm the owner, I guess co-owner with my husband of Chantal Cheese Shop in Bloomfield. Officially Bloomfield.
Officially Bloomfield.
Yes.
Now, like I said before we started recording, I had to Google how to pronounce your name. Mm-hmm. Okay. Anaïs.
Yes.
Okay. That's right?
Yes.
And can you say the full name again so I can pronounce it? I always tell people to say their full name so I don't sound like a fool whenever I'm reading the intro.
Yeah, it's so hard, so stay with me, okay? Anaïs Saint-André Loughran.
Loughran.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like Saint-André Loughran.
Okay.
Because it's Irish at the end.
Oh, that's interesting. You have probably my favorite name of everyone that I've had on here before.
It's a little bit exotic.
It is. It's an exotic name. And so I usually, I try to explain to everyone how I came across them. And I'm a cheese fan. And I think I came across you because someone shared a board that you guys had.
Ooh.
And I was like, all right, I'm going to click on that. And I went down a rabbit hole. Then I saw that you were originally born in France and, you went to New York after and you kind of developed this love of cheese. And I was like, all right, I got to contact them and we got to get you in here. And here we are.
Yeah. I went to California first.
California first? Mm-hmm. Now, I feel like we're going to have a lot to unpack. But before we get into your life, you brought me some cheeses to try.
Yes.
I'm very excited about it. I've done this once before with another cheesemonger, and it was one of my favorite experiences because you don't usually have the opportunity to, have a piece or try. You could try it at the counter, and then I don't want to sit there and bother people and be like, "Well, tell me a little bit about this."
Well, actually, at the shop, this is all we do.
That's all you do.
We really promote sampling your cheese. And we will talk to you about this cheese. We do not let you go until you know everything about the cheese. It's all about education.
It's all education and the experience of it. And my favorite thing is to try anything and talk to the people behind it all. So we're drinking a saison from neighbors of yours.
Yeah, right
Trace.
next door. I mean, next door, like a block off.
Block away. I didn't know that. I've never been into the shop. I wanted to make it in there before you and I sat down, but I did not get to make it there. But best of both worlds. We got a nice spread here.
You'll come a different time.
I will come a different time. Absolutely. My wife actually was looking at the website and she was like, "We should definitely hit up one of these classes." So maybe that'll be next month's.
Yeah, we just released all of the classes until September, and we do fill up pretty fast, just FYI.
What's the website?
So we sell our tickets on Eventbrite.
Okay.
But you have the link on our website or on social media. I share a lot the link or things like that.
What's your Instagram?
At Chantal Cheese.
That's
simple.
it. Very simple. Chantal. Now, do you want to jump into the cheese?
Yeah. Are we talking cheese first? Sure
Yeah.
thing.
Well, my envisionment of this conversation is to talk a little cheese while we try to talk about your life.
Well, let's start with the first one because it's French.
Okay, let's do that.
Let's dig into my life by talking about cheese.
Yeah, we're going to take a trip.
The first one, so we have 5 cheeses today, and the first one is the Brie Fermier from the Ferme de Tremblay. So all of this is very French. If you want, I can say it with an American accent. Ferme de Tremblay with a Brie Fermier, something like that.
Do you now? Is that something you have to find? You do often, like
No.
if you okay.
I just say
think
it
so.
in French, and then they're like, "What?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah."
See, I would probably ask you how to say it without say it. How did you say it? Say it in English. Is that right? Is it?
Like people always say, like, speak with an American accent. I was like, this is it. This is the best, the most I have. Because if not, I can speak with a very French accent and no one understands me anymore.
Well, I feel like that I would ask that question just for the simple fact of how to remember to say it or like look it up or anything like that. Because if you say it all, very romantic as it should be, I wouldn't know how to spell it or even know how to say it again.
So we do have the little sign with the name on it, and we'll pull it out often just to show you what it is, especially for me, because like that I know what cheese I'm talking about, because if not, I know sometimes I say it too fast.
Yeah.
I try to slow it down if someone asks me. Also, I always recommend to take pictures.
That's what I do. It's the best thing to do.
We have little logs, like a cheese log. It's so cute. But it's a little cheese log where a lot of information already in it, and you just have to fill it up.
Oh.
But the problem is you need to remember to bring it to the cheese shop for us to help you to maybe get the same cheese that you like or something similar but different. But we always ask people what they like, what they dislike, because we have a lot of cheese. We do fresh cut cheese at the shop, and the problem is we have a lot of cheese from small producers.
Yeah.
So a lot of people don't know the names of any of the cheese that we have.
Oh,
so
yeah.
even if you like cheese and you have a lot of cheese, you might not recognize a lot of the names that we have in the cheese case.
That makes sense. I like that. I want the names that we've never heard of.
Yeah, but it's also very scary
because
I think in the US especially, a lot of people didn't grow up eating a lot of artisanal cheeses. Is something pretty new. I mean, the 70s is when it started, and it was very small, and it's really like the past 20, 30 years that it really grew in the US. And even today, you're going to find more and more good cheeses in your local grocery stores or things like that, but often you're not going to find like the smallest producers. You might have few, but you still... it's a lot of mass-produced cheeses.
Yeah.
So you can start and dabble in all of this, but a lot of people are like, I want my cheddar, I want my mozzarella, or things like that. And you're
Creatures of habit.
and I'm like, well, we do have a fresh mozzarella that we make in-house. So we have some things like that instead, or we have like smaller cheddars that you might never heard of before.
Yeah.
So it's just a little different.
Do you find people are pretty hesitant that come in? Do you notice a good bit of people that are hesitant to try different things?
Not to try. I feel like there's always this moment. Also, I do have to admit, cheese is very expensive in this country.
Yeah.
In France, it's definitely different. And I see the barrier. I see that people are like, well, I know I'm going to have to spend too much money. And you see the price per pound. And then you're like, oh my God. But every time at the end, at the register, I hear, oh, that's it. And I'm like, yes.
That's because that's how I think of it. Because I'm like, oh, that says like 25 a pound. And I'm like, I can't conceptualize how big of a hunk
it can
that
go
is.
all the way to $60 a pound.
I
and
bet.
You just like, oh, this is too expensive. However, you are spending your money more wisely.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, it's hard. It's hard because I understand this and it's very complicated. So you have to kind of break up the ice. And also like, because it's expensive, think about wine. You think about wine people and you think maybe we're too snob because it's like wine people.
Yeah.
And they have a knowledge that you might not have. But realistically, we try to not be too, pretentious.
Yeah, that's all right. I feel
I'm
like it could be
French.
overwhelming. I feel like that the world of cheese could be very overwhelming. My first experience, like where we went on our honeymoon to Salem. They have a cheese shop there.
Very famous cheese shop.
Is it famous? Mm-hmm. Oh, well, we went there.
Cheese shop of Salem.
We were just walking around and we went in there and I think we spent an hour and 20 minutes in there just talking to the ladies that were there. I tried maybe 50 different types of cheese there, but I was so overwhelmed because you're trying all this different stuff. And it's almost like I equate it to beer kind of, because it's like, if you buy a 4-pack of beer, that's like $20. I always don't want to just try to buy a 4-pack of beer because I often don't like a lot that people don't like. So it's like, I'm going to buy this beer and not like it. So I kind of get the barrier that you're speaking about.
This is why we're sampling.
Yeah.
We always sample because there's two different things. First, you don't want to spend maybe $12 to a piece of cheese that you're going to hate.
Yeah.
That makes me sad because this cheese is not going to be eaten. And also, I don't want you to be sad. Cheese is happy. Cheese is supposed to bring people together.
Yeah.
Cheese is supposed to enjoy, your friends, your family, whoever you're with, or even alone is the kind of thing that makes you happy. So opening a cheese and you're just like, I hate it, is the saddest moment for me to think about this. So if you try at the shop first, we can kind of pinpoint what you like, what you don't like. And also, by the time you're home, you know that you tried it and that you liked it.
Yeah,
so
you're not going to hate it.
You're not
going to
hate it.
That makes sense. That's a good way to look at it, at least. And I get what you say, whenever you say, oh, it makes me sad if people don't like it. But I can understand that to an extent where, this is your passion. Part of your passion is to communicate to the customer and take them on, you're leading them into this world. And it's that speaks to you. If you could help them find and pinpoint something great.
And I hear so many stories of people who had a bad experience with a brie, for example, or something. And you're just like,
for context, I told her in the beginning, she said, is there any cheeses you do not like? And I said, I am not a fan of brie. And I said, I pretty much like anything else.
That's why I brought a brie.
I'm excited to try it because who knows, I might have just not had any good stuff.
Yeah, unless I think it's a textural thing. Some people might not like gooey, meltable.
I don't even think that it's that for me. I think that it doesn't have enough. I think the kinds that I've tried. Yeah, that's what it is. It's the kinds that I've tried. They didn't have enough depth.
I cannot wait for you to try.
I'm excited. And that brie is the first one.
Brie, the first one, just because it's the youngest. So often when you try cheeses, you want to try to start with something milder, and often the softer or maybe the milder, unless it's a wash rind, but we're going to see that in a moment. So the brie, the goat cheeses, like the fresh, bright kind of flavor is going to be more first. And then as they age, cheeses takes more flavor, gets bolder, sharper. So you kind of want to go from soft to hard. There's always exception in things like that. But in general, it kind of is a good rule to start with and finish with the blue, just because blue cheese is always so salty and pungent. And you kind of like want to finish with something also sweet and
Off
salty
of the bang.
together. Exactly.
Yeah.
So, let's take it in this brie. I actually would love your reaction.
All right. I can't wait. This is the brie?
Yeah, so it's a brie fermier, and when we say brie fermier, it means farmstead in English.
Okay.
So farmstead means that the animals were raised in the same place that they are making the cheese, because a lot of time farmers actually just get the milk from up the street, from like a farm that just milk their cows, and then they make cheese in their property. There's also affineur, which just aged cheese. So they actually get cheese from other people and age them their own way. So there's a lot of jobs.
Say it for me one more time.
Affineur.
Affineur?
Like affinage, affineur means to age the cheese. Realistically, their job description is to age your cheese to the proper level that you want it to be.
Wow.
So each part has different jobs, and some people do all of it in one place.
Yeah.
So this one is from a small farm around Paris. So brie is from Paris region. It's all the bries are like born in this region for a very long time. So it's part of our heritage. So
Can I ask you dumb questions?
There's no dumb question.
Like, do we have any idea when this cheese was like first, like whenever it first came to be?
This specific cheese,
not
or
even
just brie?
Just brie in general.
So we have records of brie being around since the 1100s. We talk about brie. The kings started liking brie, so all the kings were like, "We're eating brie." So this is always how it happens when you have rich people, liking something. They're the one who buying it. So this is how they also the people who can actually write. I mean, not the kings themselves, but the people who have knowledge and be able to write about it. So this is often how we have recollection of certain aspect of cheeses, is like you start reading about them in scripts or things like that. So they might not have totally the same spelling or the same name, but it was made probably the same way.
Yeah.
So we have few cheeses like that's been around for like at least since the 1100, but realistically we know that there's like 300 before the Jesus Christ kind of thing. Like it was already made.
It's crazy for me to think about it because, I think about cheese in the fact that like, who's the first person that's trying this because it looks moldy. People were just like grabbing it and eat it. And that's like, how is that correct or is that just wrong?
This is the story of how cheese was ever invented. Okay, so like this is the story of how gourds were used to make with stomach animals a long time. Think about Game of Thrones kind of thing. And they put milk. And I don't know if you've ever been a student who had a cup of milk in their car.
Oh, yeah.
And then it just become cheese.
Oh, yeah.
So think about that, and like someone traveling and put milk and suddenly they're just like, well, this is hard now, and I'm just going to try it. And every time I say these stories, I was like, again, they are just oral, like, history. It's not actually how it happened.
It's how we think it happened.
Yeah, cheese been around since as soon as humans started to stay in one place and started to domesticate animals. Because every human's actually lactose intolerant. And with time, we got better, but they realized if you actually let your milk sit for a long time, they acidified and coagulate, and then you have cheese. So the first humans were actually eating cheese, and actually cheese was part of the first currency with wine and beer. So
my goodness,
cheese is part of human history.
Wow.
This is also why I love cheese. Cheese is everything about like.
I can tell why you like it. I mean, it's historical for sure. So it's like you're just it's like working with art.
Yeah,
it's like it
is a piece of art to me. The time and effort that is put into a cheese.
Yeah.
I mean, my favorite thing I always said that my favorite thing about cheese. Well, there's many things, but my favorite thing is like when you have a wheel of cheese and you cut it. you're the first one
Yeah.
ever who's going to see the inside of this cheese, right? So this cheese can be, a couple weeks old to even a couple days, couple hours,
Yeah.
to like 3 years, 5 years.
How old is this brie?
This is about a month.
So a month it takes usually.
Yeah, 30 to 60 days. Every bries are different, and some bries are very, the brie de Melun or the fromage de Meaux, they are very like AOCs, so like they are DOPs in English, so like désignation d'origine. What is DOP? I never remember the English versions, but like
That's all right.
designation, origin, something like it's like champagne. Sorry, it's like champagne used to be made in champagne with champagne grapes.
That makes sense.
I never remember the British, the American versions.
There's no apologies necessary on here at all.
But they have rules because it's part of their heritage, and they are trying to keep like the proper way of making a cheese. So this is not one of them, but this farm is all sustainable, grass-fed, like organic. It's all you want to say, like everything you want to hear from a farm.
That's what you look for whenever you're looking for a cheese. Like everyone wants like, organic, grass-fed, everything.
Yeah, but there's a reason. There's a big reason. Think about it.
It tastes better. That's what it does. It
tastes better, but even think about like cheese is mostly milk, right? I mean, it's just milk.
Yeah.
Because all the cheeses... Think about all the cheeses in the world think about all the cheese that you ever tried. And then we have all these cheeses from every different city and different state and different countries. And yet they're all made the same way. You only have milk, like starter culture or acidification to coagulate the milk to start it. And then you have salt.
Yeah.
So it's milk, culture, salt, and rennet. So this is it. Like
it
this
is pretty crazy.
And then think about all the cheese that you have in the world. It's just like
It's like bread. Bread's it's a few ingredients, but you could do a million things with it.
Correct.
All just depends on how the artist wants to make it. Mm-hmm. All right, can we lop a piece of this off?
Yes, please go for it.
Now, what's the correct way to do this? Like if you didn't know, if I didn't know who you were, and I just went to dive into this wedge of cheese, what is the correct way to do it?
So if you're in France, you better ask before you do it, because Americans often just dig in, and I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, I know. I want to know. I want to do it proper.
So realistically, this cheese, I will go like the same way I started cutting it. But because it's just the two of us, you can also just start it from the tip to the bottom.
Right here?
Mm-hmm. The rind is 100% edible. You can definitely eat it.
Okay.
It's called a bloomy rind. It's made with Penicillium candidum, and it's this little white mold that is outside.
I'm trying to think of like what I think of whenever I smell.
What do you think?
Whenever I smell it, it smells like very light, a little bit like almost like I'm terrible at this. It flavor notes, but maybe buttery.
Yes.
Kind of smells buttery.
Yes. That's the milk. You're right.
That's a good point, I guess.
Tastes like milk.
Right.
But brie is going to be like mushroomy, earthy, umami. I mean, cheese is umami, realistically, like in flavor profile. But you're going to have some grassiness.
I do not dislike that at all. I really do not dislike that at all. That has flavor. I feel like the stuff that I had literally just tasted like, Greek yogurt or something. It was just like a little bit harder, a little bit firmer. It had no like
consistency.
It had no like depth. You could kind of go through levels of this. It kind of tastes like.
This is the closest in flavor to a raw cow's milk brie, which you cannot find in the U.S. because any brie every soft cheeses that are not aged on or are aged under 60 days cannot be imported in the U.S.
Why is that?
It's an old rule that actually doesn't have that much.
Doesn't hold water.
This is why the American Cheese Society actually is fighting it in a certain way by educating people, because if and everybody knows how to handle raw milk, then everybody can actually use it.
So the basis of this is contaminating it, I guess that makes sense.
The thing is, cheese have the most microbiomes than any other food. So there's a lot of bacteria, but they're mostly good. And as you age the cheese, you're going to have all the bad bacteria who are actually going to die, like naturally. And soft pasteurized cheeses are as dangerous as like a raw cow's milk in a certain way. So because the cheese can actually heal itself when it's pasteurized, there's nothing to help it. It's like kind of its immune system. So is the kind of thing to not be scared about. I mean, obviously, if you're pregnant, this is
steer away
still a
from
thing. But there's also study that prove that it's not a thing. But I would never go against like someone.
No, I get that.
Feeling about this
completely. My brother went to Switzerland for his honeymoon, and he brought me back a wheel of cheese, and it was ruined whenever he brought it back because he put it in his carry-on, or he put it in his checked bag, and whenever I opened it. It had the you call it a rind around it, and that's fine. I get that. It looked funky, but I understand that that's normal. But whenever I cut it open, it was bad because it was heated. It like poured out.
Which is also okay.
Was it all right?
Maybe, I don't know what cheese you had. Maybe
sorry.
it was actually a wash rind that is very pungent, and with the heat, maybe something happened. But realistically, in France, for example, we don't even put our cheese in the fridge. We just let it sit. And,
really?
Yeah. So I always grew up like going to my grandma in the middle of summer with a camembert, which is this very stinky brie version of a brie.
Yeah.
It's just made with a different mold and kind of different techniques. But yeah, I remember the cheese oozing out and just smells like horrific. But in the same time, for me, it's nostalgia because like this is good. Like these are good things to smell.
Were you someone who enjoyed cheese from a young age?
Yes.
Always.
I mean, I'm French. We eat so much cheese.
Yeah, I bet.
It's absurd. And good cheeses. I mean, if you go to a French supermarket, it's insane how much cheeses they are there. And it goes from mass produced to having like small producers. And you have like, I don't even know, a couple aisle of huge aisle, like we're talking like Walmart kind of aisle, like just cheese and
of all these different kinds.
And even that, they're not the best cheeses because they're not from a cheese shop or like from the small producer itself. So even in France, you're gonna find some better cheeses, but still not the best.
Yeah.
And this is why you should always go to your little cheese shop because they care for it. They know what's good. They actually did the research behind to see like where it's coming from. We know realistically where they're coming from, what the farm is, and like how they're made and things like that. So there's all the knowledge behind that is part of the job.
Absolutely. That's interesting that you've always enjoyed it. Even like the funky cheeses.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for me, I feel like obviously it's very different growing up here because they're not funky cheese. There wasn't funky cheese whenever I was coming up. It was a block of Giant Eagle cheddar, a block of Giant Eagle Sharp Wisconsin or whatever. And, my dad would slice that up and, there wasn't a lot of like different, varieties of it. I think probably the most funky cheese that there was just like a blue cheese, and that's like, what was his name? Stewart or it's a blue cheese dressing brand. It's like that was like the funkiest type of, stuff that we had. And then I don't really know when I also was younger, so I didn't really pay attention to it. There might've been more of it. But who knows?
Yeah, I was very lucky. I was traveling a lot with my parents. I'm an only child, so it was kind of easy for us to go in a van and just travel around France. And we visited a lot of farms, a lot of cheese making facilities from like mass produce to like the little farm like just on top of the hill of my great grandfather's house where we were just feeding the horses and cows. So I grew up in cheese in a certain way, but I feel a lot of French people did just by eating a lot of them. But I do have this weird thing that since I'm a kid, I remembered every cheese I ever tasted. So I have like specific memories about different ages where I try like some of the best cheese in the world.
Wow.
So it's very cool.
When you were growing up, what part of France?
I'm from Lyon, which is like Central East.
Is it smaller?
It's the third biggest city of France.
Oh, okay. So you growing up as a kid, was it like a regular neighborhood around here? Was there a lot of people?
Oh yeah. I mean, again,
Yeah,
big
I
city.
guess.
But I was kind of at the outskirt, but it's just we have family kind of all over the place, and we just traveled a lot. I mean, we didn't grow up with that much money, but my dad was a contractor and had a little van truck kind of thing, and during the summer I will become like a little RV.
That's awesome.
So we just used to just go in this van and park anywhere and just like visit all Europe like this.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Were you when you were younger, did you have an idea that you wanted to work with cheese?
No, this is the whole story how the shop actually arrived.
I would love to hear it.
So I love cheese, but it's never something I ever thought to be in cheese.
Do you think that younger kids, you think that there's any younger kids that were like, that grew up and they were like, maybe like, 10, 11, 12 in school and they were like, I think I want to be into cheese?
No, and especially in France, it's so crowded. I feel like you see really good cheese in supermarkets. So it's not something that you...
This is how much I like this. I'm sorry for interrupting you. I'm going to take another piece of it.
No, so like realistically, again, it's overcrowded. I never thought... I have no ambition in a certain way. I never knew what I wanted to do my entire life. This is also why I went to the US. I have an uncle in California and he was like, just come to school for a year. Well, I stayed and I finished school and I went to New York for my last few months on my visa and I met my husband. And we met at Balthazar in a French restaurant in New York City.
Oh, wow.
And well, we met and 4 months later, we got married.
That's fantastic. Is he from here?
He's from around Philly.
Okay.
But he went to school to Pittsburgh. This is also how we ended up here. So we were in New York and we got married and we, didn't really care about any of this. And so we had a Star Wars wedding.
Star Wars?
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yeah, we actually celebrated our 10-year anniversary in April.
Wow, congratulations.
So we did a whole thing for the shop anniversary itself. We turned 4 in the same month. So we had a whole big display that I built like all kind of things, Star Wars. Anyways, that's the little nerdy part of us. So we got married in his parents' backyard in Kennett Square, Pennsylvania. And we went with my mom to get a little cheese plate for the next day. So we picked cheeses and I was 22. Yes, I was 22. And I went there. It was a butcher shop, specialty shop, but we have a little 4-case like cheese shop thing with like few cheeses. And we had to pick cheeses, but I still believe like American cheese were disgusting. I thought, cheddar is stupid. I don't want any of this on my plate. So I was not looking forward for any of this. And we just picked a cheese plate because it's the thing to do. And then this little old lady talked to me about cheese like it was poetry. And she made me try a Vermont cheddar. I do not remember the cheeses really that I picked at the time, but all I could remember is trying this Vermont cheddar that was grass-fed. Do not know where it's from. And I was like, this is the best. So I was with my mom and we picked the cheese and I was like, Mom, I want to be her. I want to be this little old lady behind the counter just talking to people about cheese. Like, this is what I want to be. And she was like, well, maybe you will have your own little cheese shop one day. And I was like, yeah, sure. Not a thing, but thank you. And we went on, we got married. And because we're in the service industry, my husband and I just took off. Like, we just quit our job and took a couple months off. We went to France, came back, and he was like, hey, there's a cheese shop like 10 minutes walking distance in Fort Greene in Brooklyn, Green Grape Provision, that is hiring. And I was like, all right, let's go. Like, why not? I don't have a job. I just need to find a job at this point. So I went there and I was like, hi, I'm just French. Can I sell cheese? And they're like, asking me a couple of questions. They're like, yeah, you're hired. Like, it's totally fine.
Yeah, it's like your level of expertise just being French is like leaps and bounds more than Americans. Now, let me ask you this. Before you went and you picked out this cheese tray from this sweet old lady, did you have like any sort of interest in this at all beyond just being a fan of it?
Not really. I mean, I just love cheese. Is the kind of thing.
But it was not in your mind like, I would like to be able to just have a shop and just do this. That's
not even that. Yeah, I really didn't expect my life to turn the way it is. And what happened is, so a year after our marriage, my mom passed away, and the short time between like we got back from France in August, September, something like that, in July. Yeah, August or September, I got the job around this, and like in a few months, I became a cheese buyer, a manager, and I was just absorbing everything. And this little shop had like 150 cheeses.
Now, I'm sorry. This is very tangential. I'm going to interrupt you just to kind of unpack this a little bit more. So when you got this job, your basis
knew nothing.
Yeah, you knew nothing about this beyond just
the cheese I tried. Yeah.
Now,
and what did we learn in France? I don't know if that helps, but
well, whenever you got in there, were you nervous, or did you seem to like kind of just like understand more? Or did you already start off knowing more ahead of time? Yeah.
I could describe, like, I knew already all the French cheeses, already. Then, there's all few Italians, there's a lot of cheeses that you just kind of see in your life. And then you realize the difference between the small batch and the mass-produced one, and then you're like, whoa, this cheese is way better than I remember. And then you realize, yes, there's differences between small farm and mass-produced ones.
Were you
the brie?
Yeah, the brie. This was really, really good, and it's definitely different than I've had before. Were you someone that you and your husband would go around and try different cheeses at restaurants?
No.
Okay, yeah, I wouldn't expect you to.
I feel like we probably got cheese plate just for the heck of it.
Yeah, but you weren't like a fanatic where you were trying out all different.
And we just love food in general, and we cook a lot. So even that, we cook more than we go out for sure. And it's weird. It was just everything about it. Like the whole industry is incredible, and I just wanted to learn everything about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, my mom passed away, so I had to kind of abandon everything and go back to France for a few months to deal with everything, because I was the only child. My parents actually separated like 6 months prior. So that's why.
A shame. I'm sorry to hear that.
No, it was a really hard time when I was so young. And so I dealt with everything. And when we got back, our lease was ending. And I was like, I hate New York. I actually never wanted to live in New York for real. I was supposed to be there for a few months and then figure it out, and instead I stayed for a few years. So it was kind of like, I need to get out of the city. My mom passed at 51, and I was 22, and I was like, I can't wait anymore. I want to get out. And my husband was like, let's go to Pittsburgh. And I was like, I do not know Pittsburgh.
You never been here?
Never been here. All I heard was college, party, and sport.
That's it.
The two things that it's not me. I was like, are you sure I'm going to like it? And I will always remember, it was the end of September, and we arrived at night, and I was driving by myself. My husband had the truck with all of her stuff, and we were moving in with a friend, like a college friend of his that I met once. And we passed the tunnel, and it was like maybe 10, 11 p.m., and it was just gorgeous.
Yeah, it's breathtaking.
I fell in love, I think, with Pittsburgh like right away, and then that was it.
It's a pretty easy sight to really fall in love with, is coming through the tunnel and just seeing the skyline, especially at night.
Oh, there's no traffic.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
With no traffic.
I didn't know how terrible the traffic is under these bridges. But
it is the worst. No matter what you're doing, someone's slowing down, but you just got to deal with it.
I live in New York at the end. I lived in New York, and I live in big cities, so it's not something that I'm actually that mad about. It's just always going to happen.
Where you grew up in France, was it like, was it busy? Was it like New York type of busy? Did people drive cars there a lot?
Oh, yeah. And French people are terrible drivers. So they drive very, very fast and very close to each other because everything is small.
Yeah.
So it's the kind of thing that sometimes you have like few inches when a car is passing you and you're just like, oh my God,
yeah,
I just survived this. But
I'd have anxiety.
And it's all stick too. So like realistically also you go faster in different ways. But at the end, we have a great transportation, like public transportation where I lived. So
yeah,
that's not really a problem.
That's a benefit.
Yeah.
Now, you moving to Pittsburgh, you never been here, you come here. What's your first thought of it?
Well, how cheap it was. After New York, the first day we went walking down all the way to the Strip, and I think we spent like $35 for a meal and beer and ice cream. And I was like, in New York, just a lunch with one meal and maybe a cocktail or something is like you're at $200 and you're just like, what happened?
Yeah, it's crazy.
So we are not used to that, and suddenly you're like, wait, I make no money and I'm gonna be rich.
Yeah, it's like I'm all right here.
I'm making $12 an hour and I'm rich. But yeah, so I actually got a job at PenMac within a few days.
Oh, really?
Then I worked actually at Whole Foods after a few weeks. Like I moved to Whole Foods, and this is where I, realized that Pittsburgh doesn't have a real cheese shop the way I envision, like something small where you actually talk about cheese. I want this educational part of it. I think it's very important to know what you eat, where it's coming from. And again, cheese is expensive. Take the time. It's part of, a convivial thing. Like you're going to take the time to eat it and enjoy your friends.
I agree with that. And I think that, like you mentioned PenMac, I've interviewed Adam on here before and I think that there's a place for PenMac, but there's
a place for PenMac.
There's also that the place for PenMac is for people that kind of know what they want. Mm-hmm. Not everyone wants to go in there and feel the rush, the heat of
the Saturday
people that know what they want. Get out of the way, and you're pulling numbers. Yes. That's exactly what I was describing whenever I said, I don't want to take people's time and ask questions, but there's a place that's more intimate where I could come and I could sit there and talk to you or your husband and say, where's this from? Like, why does this taste differently?
Well, just the size of the shop. Our shop is the size of this room.
Yeah.
So it's very tiny, and you just, at the end you can still take like 5-10 minutes per customers, and still like we're 3 people behind the counter almost all the time, or 2.
Yeah. PenMac is like the Hunger Games on the weekend.
And I can't, I hated it in a certain way to not be able to even, have people talk about it.
Yeah.
I feel like you see the disappointment if someone asks you a question, you try to answer, and someone else is going to be so rude and try to like jump in or things like that. And it kind of broke my heart. That's why also I went to Whole Food, because at this point I was like, I can't, like, this is too much.
Yeah. You're managing your stress level and the velocity of your work that you want it to be.
Yeah.
But that's understandable too. I don't know. I've been to Whole Foods maybe like 2 or 3 times. There's not one right around here.
Well, I haven't been to Whole Foods since I left, so.
Well, I won't be getting no cheese from Whole Foods. I'll be coming to your shop. But now for you to, kind of navigate through this and, kind of get your footing as, what's your title? Is it, or what is what's the difference?
Cheesemonger.
Is that what it is?
We're cheesemongers.
Okay. Yes. I didn't know if that was like that was like underselling what you do. No. But, like a cheesemonger, I feel like, when you're starting this and you're trying to, get involved and get your footing, is it fake it till you make it? Or did you kind of feel confident from the beginning?
I always say, even for the newcomers, like when we have new employees, we have a couple people who actually never worked in cheese before. And even the people who worked in cheese often worked at Whole Foods. We have a lot of people who worked at Whole Foods at this point. And, they still do not know this kind of knowledge, because they just they do a lot of like just physical labor and don't have to know everything. And I think also since Amazon took over, that changed a lot. I saw the transition with like our team. Everybody worked in cheese for like 6-8 years, and they fired everyone, and suddenly they were only part-timers. So like suddenly no one knows about anything, and they don't care about learning because realistically they're not their full job.
Yeah.
And I think you lose the aspect of like the loving
passion
of the job. So having people like new, I always say like, it's okay to not know, and it's okay to be there with your customer and not know. In this case, try with your customer, be together discovering this cheese that you might not know. So like, yes, before you know all the little small like fun facts about each cheese, like at the end you need to know what it tastes like. And also like trying a cheese at first, the cheese does the job for us. Realistically, you don't even have to talk. You just say, here, try the cheese, and then you like it, you don't like it. But then with time, you feel comfortable to ask the right question, like, why did you not like it? Was it too strong? Was it too barnyardy? Was it something? Like you need to start getting the vocabulary that comes with it. But at the end of the day, it's all about tasting and tasting over and over until you know each cheese. And we do this fun game when you first arrive after a couple of days where we take all the sign out of the case. And then we're like, good luck.
Yeah, mass panic.
Yes. And I love this game because realistically it helps you, because when we cut the cheese, we take it from the back, so we don't see the sign. So you need to know what every cheese looks like without having to worry about what name it is.
Yeah.
I mean, you need to know the name, but so each cheese have their own characteristic. I mean, you see the plate, they all look very, very different to one another.
Yeah, where you could figure it out just by looking at it.
Yes. And then if you're not sure, you try it, and then you can probably figure it out. There's actually tests to literally, if you can, like sommelier, but for cheese.
Yeah.
If you can actually describe a cheese.
And taste the different things out of it. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm trying to get to as far as beer. I'm very new to beer, and like I've dipped my toe into this over like the past 2.5 months. That's as long as I've been drinking beer. I was just never a drinker, never liked it. But, there's so many great people in the city that are doing great things with beer. I wanted to be able to speak to them, in an educated manner. So I wanted to, educate myself. So I've been trying all this delicious stuff and, trying to learn the terminology and be able to just speak to someone the right way and describe things. But
cheese is exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
Realistically, cheese, wine, beer
coffee.
are all the same. All coffee.
Yeah.
Actually, my husband is very into coffee and chocolate, so it's really the same.
Oh, really?
It's really the same thing. And you talk about terroir in wine, you talk about terroir in cheese, because realistically, again, cheese is mostly milk, which is 90% of water.
Yeah.
So this is why I was saying where it's coming from is very important, because if you have good, happy animals already, you're going to have good milk. If you have the right animals, who makes the right kind of milk for your specific cheese. So the breed is important, but also the grass, the plant. Because if it's a raw milk, you're literally going to taste what the cows, sheep or goats are grazing, and it's going to be in their cheese. So everything is important.
Yeah, I listened to this guy talk about how he ate bear before. But he ate bear that was harvested in an area that was bountiful with blueberries. So it had like a note of a blueberry, like a fruity type of note. And I was like, that's crazy to think about. All right, can we have another cheese?
Yes, we are spending way too much time on all of this.
That's all right. This is exactly what we're supposed to be doing. This is fantastic. Is this the second one?
This is the second one, and we are going right in Pittsburgh because we're talking about my life. So I decided to kind of
that's perfect. It's nice. That's a perfect segue.
This is from Goat Rodeo because I do believe it's important to promote some also local cheeses.
Absolutely.
And Goat Rodeo is definitely the best cheesemaker in this part of Pennsylvania.
Yes.
All the rest are near Philly. And so I just wanted to promote them because they are so incredible. They are the nicest family.
They are going to be on here. So for people that are listening to this, Will Lovner, who is their son, I interviewed him a while ago. He is the one who rode 333 miles in 24 hours. He's an animal. He's currently biking from, I believe, Canada to Mexico or somewhere. He's an animal. He's just biking 24 hours at a time. But his family owns Goat Rodeo Cheese. They're over in the North Hills. And
Allison Park specifically.
It's Allison Park specifically, but I'm going to get them on here and I want to learn more. I'm supposed to go up there and hang out with the goats at some point.
You have to. And then right now is the kids season.
I know. That's what I was just talking to Will. I was like, hey, we should get you on here before you're about to go on this crazy trip. He was like, well, why don't we do it after this crazy trip in case, I die or anything wild. But okay, so this is Goat Rodeo.
Not funny.
No, he's an animal.
Yeah, so nice. They're also nice though. In Stephen, India, the people actually came to our grand opening and things like that. We barely know each other, and yet we just go visit with all the team. Every time we have a new person, we're like, let's go.
That's the best.
And I had a friend who worked there, so it was also we're very connected, and we sell so much of their cheeses.
After I spoke to him, I had him over and I was interviewing him, and then he was like, "Oh yeah, my family owns this," and all of a sudden I see it everywhere now. It's
oh yeah,
I just didn't know the name of it, but I love the name. I love the branding of it. The packaging looks so awesome. What kind of cheese is this?
So this is Bamboozle, and it is half goat, half cow, and is washed with Sindelon beer. So I assumed
Oh
that you
my
actually
God.
like beer, but I should maybe not have done that. But like actually you do, and
Oh,
we
I do
have a
now.
beer.
Cinderlands is actually probably my favorite. Going there Friday for my birthday.
Oh well, happy birthday by the way.
Thank you.
But so this is a mixed milk, and this is also why I picked it. And it's a wash rind. So when we talk about wash rind, it can be bathed into a brine or something. You know, it can be alcohol, it can be beer, it can be spirit, but it can be just salted water. And often cheeses are actually not washed. They are often like smeared, but it doesn't sound very good to say a smeared cheese. So what often they do, they use gloves or a sponge or something and just literally smear like the brine or like the beer or something. So like each cheese are a little bit different. And you will see the rind is very sticky. And when we talk about wash rind, we're often thinking about époisses. We are thinking about very sticky, I always call them sticky cheeses. And you often think French. And they are very pungent.
This is a pungent one?
However, this one
okay.
is not that pungent. I think it's the 101 of like wash rind cheeses.
This is the initiation to get you in.
And I think the balance between the goat and the cow is incredible. The texture is very springy to the touch. It really is meltable. I use it all the time to melt on pizza, do grilled cheeses with them, this one specifically. And goes very well with mushroom, really. But the rind's going to be the most pungent. So what happens is on the first one, on the brie, you have a mold, the Penicillium candidum, that is all white and fluffy. Actually, if you don't touch the cheese when it's aging, it's like a little puff. And then with the paper, and when you touch it, then it kind of like calm down. But if you ever had a brie from a supermarket and you open it and there's a pocket of air, you're going to see a little fluff bulk, like kind of growing. Cheese is alive. So like this is why cheese has a lifespan. This is also why, you know, it's going to be greener as it ages or things like that. So this one's going to actually have more like a bacteria rind, which is the B lining that you see. So
the goat rodeo is
so it's
more
more like a
bacteria.
yeast and bacteria reaction. This is why often you're going to have this kind of sourdoughy kind of flavor, like smell. But the B linings is what you actually see on the outside. Is it gives your cheese kind of this orangey kind of color. So if you look in a cheese case, you see this kind of orange looking one on the top, and they seem a little sticky. Even if they're not sticky, often you can be sure they're washed. And if you're not a strong cheese person, get away from them. Or ask your cheesemonger which one is the mildest. But like realistically, they're gonna be the punges. Like they stink.
Yeah.
Often they have a smell.
Yeah.
And they stink. I think it's amazing, but like is the kind of thing that there's no wrong smell.
Yeah.
But if you are not sure, just take it out. Don't eat this rind. I think you should always try the rind unless if it's wood, paper, or wax.
Wood?
Yeah. Some cheese have wood wrapped around them.
You're supposed to eat it?
No, don't.
Oh, I thought you
eat
said.
it.
I thought you just said you're supposed to try it.
All the rind, but these three: paper, wax, and wood. After that, if it's too thick, there's no point. Like the third cheese you're going to see, like the rind is a little too thick. There's no point of really eating that. I mean, you can cook with it if you want to make a broth or put in sauces, but it's not going to give you that much more to the cheese. This one's going to add more to the cheese. The inside often of this very strong pungent cheeses, they're actually very mild or like sweet often. So I always say like, try it, pinch your nose, put it in your mouth and see what you do first, and skip the rind at first if you're not sure. But it's part of the cheese, and especially when you melt it, the rind gets all crispy. So like
that's
for
where
this,
I'm at.
yeah, the wash rind too, if you're like, this is really a cheese I cannot do, melt it. Because when it melts, it will actually become sweeter. It might stink up your kitchen a little bit, but it's still going to taste sweet. Think about raclette. Have you ever had raclette cheese? Like on social media, you see it, like you have a wheel and they melt it and they just spread it.
I was going to ask you about it.
So this is kind of the same style of cheese where they are very like kind of sticky, stinky cheeses, but yet you melt it and it becomes sweet cream. So
And
don't be fearful of wash rind.
Now, whenever I first smell this, it smells a little bit more funky than the brie. Not anything very, very crazy.
Yeah. You might.
What did you just
smell
do there? Are you warming it?
Yes, I'm warming my cheese. So realistically, cheese should be eaten at room temp, always. And
Oh, is that real? Is that right?
yeah, it will open up the flavor.
Oh, I guess that
So
makes sense.
You really want to have your cheese out before, if you have it after dinner, before dinner, or if you are having before dinner, like
So if we're at a
half
party,
an hour before.
if we're at a party, like I remember this is a specific experience that I'll never forget because I needed an opportunity to ask the right person. A Halloween party last year, my buddy's a big cheese guy. He went to the Nines and had literally a whole table this size of just cheese, meats, everything.
We do that. We do grazing tables.
A grazing
Yeah.
table, exactly that. Well, probably like 5.5, 6 hours later, cheese is just sitting there. Maybe a fly went on it once or twice, but it's warm. That's probably the best time to have it,
Best
right?
time.
Well,
Yep.
and I know now. Okay, so I let this warm a little bit. I'm gonna have a bite now.
And the first thing you're actually going to try, you're going to taste is the goat cheese. It's going to really come like to the front of your mouth.
Oh, I love it.
And so they're a small creamery in Alliston Park, but they have their goats on the premises and they use their cow's milk right up the street. So
They get some of their milk from Turner's. I know that.
they have a couple farms. I
Yeah,
think
a couple
they're
of
using.
them.
And
This is fantastic.
yeah, it's so delicious.
I'm not lying about it either, just because I'm friends with them. But it really is good. It has a good. I like the texture. I'm usually not someone who gets turned away or gets turned off by texture. But a brie, it's not my favorite texture. I'm fine if it's supposed to be a melted cheese. But if I'm having a cold cheese and it's still that consistency, it's just strange to me. This is a perfect texture, I feel.
Well, you want actually to melt it. Like, don't you want to melt it?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It's kind of like the texture has little eyes. So the little eyes is the little holes that you see on the side.
Eyes, is that what they call
That's
them?
how they're called.
Oh my God. I just
stare
had
at you. No,
I just had the rind.
And the rind, you're going to see the little bitterness that comes through it. And also often the beeline envy is also a little crystal sometimes that happens and it has a slightly crunch on the outside.
Yeah.
Which are different things than like other crystal that you're going to see in the cheese that we're going to talk about in a bit.
That one's a really good one.
And actually just won like best cheese recently in one of the latest cheese competition. It is winning a lot. They're winning a lot of prizes and they deserve it. They put a lot of work into it.
I'm getting them on here. It's happening. You're going to have to even make the connection too. Because I've messaged them and they'll always like react with a bunch of hearts and be like, yeah, let me know.
They're
but
busy.
It's going to happen.
They have goats.
I know. I'll go up there. I'll take this studio up to them. That one's a very good one. You said that was called Bamboozled by
So
Goat
you kind
Radio.
of bamboozled your mind. No.
It is. I love that one. It is interesting though because you said it's a split. You said half of it's goat, half of it's calf or cow. Why is it that you taste the goat milk first? Is it because it's more pungent?
So goat has the tendency to be a little more tangier and brighter flavor. Cows is more like mellow. Mellow. It's a big word to say. So the goats is really going to be like bright and flavorful. It's going to be very often tangy. So this is also a lot of people don't like goat, but I really believe it's changing. I think a lot of people tried again the crumble goat or something like this, or even the mass-produced chèvre. So they have a chèvre, which is the fresh goat cheese. Oh my God, it's the best chèvre I had in my entire life. It's creamy, it's not tangy at all, it's bright, it's lemony, and a lot of people don't like goat cheese, actually love, or at least like the chèvre that they're making because it's so fresh too. We're making it and a few days later we have it. So you cannot fight the freshness in cheese.
Yeah.
And also goats have this tendency to kind of be, have a personality. And if they are not happy, they're going to be...
That's the first thing he said. He said every single goat has a personality.
Like animals, they are very smart. Like cows are kind of the same way. But yeah, their milk is going to be different and sometimes tangier, also depending on the breed, but sometimes just being unhappy, they might not make the best milk.
Yeah, if you got a grumpy goat, you might have a grumpy taste in cheese.
Grumpy goat, grumpy cheese.
How old is something like this?
So I believe this one is, sorry, I don't want to say something stupid.
That's all right.
I think it's 2 months.
Oh, but it's not it's not anything like super crazy old.
No. I want to say between 2 and 4 months just because of how it is
That's
I
all
would
right.
say 2 months. Don't quote me on this one personally.
That's all right. Okay.
But it's a fantastic cheese, and I think it's like a good way to start with strong, pungent cheese because it's not.
Yeah,
right?
that's-
you still have the flavor and the bitterness of like this
Yeah,
cheese.
that's definitely not too crazy to jump into. Now, whenever you moved here and you said you're food people. When you moved here and you started going to different restaurants around here, did you notice? I mean, obviously, you said our cheese game here was lacking. Now, I mean,
We are changing this.
we are changing it. I feel because you see more things, even at restaurants. Like I went to a restaurant for Father's Day. My mother-in-law.
Where did you go?
We went to the Abbey on Butler,
Oh, interesting.
and we went there, and she got a sandwich, and it had goat cheese on it. But before she ordered it, she was like, "I might ask them to put something different on it," and we were both like, "Just get it." Like, she loved it, but it's people were hesitant to try different things. But whenever you moved here, did you notice that there wasn't that much?
Yes, even today. I mean, the funny part you talk about the Abbey, but I did work there.
Did you?
And if you notice on one of the wall on the outside on the patio, there's a whole vintage poster actually over the cheese shop.
Oh, is it?
So I absolutely love them. I work with them and I still hang out with them.
That was my first time there. Had an
It's-
amazing chicken sandwich.
Yeah, and actually the mac and cheese are using our cheese.
Really?
So we do wholesale with restaurant, and I was saying when we say I'm changing this is actually I'm selling cheese to restaurant around Pittsburgh.
That's amazing.
So I do see a change. I'm surprised sometimes to see some certain selection because I feel like good cheeses is actually very easy to get in a certain way, especially if you're a restaurant. The problem is the knowledge.
Yeah, that's what it is, the
And-
knowledge.
And it just makes me a little sad sometimes because I'm like, this is expensive for what it is. And people eat the same thing at home. So maybe try something different, but also understand how scary it is, right?
Yeah.
Because if you don't know, how do you express that to your customer if you don't know about it? So it's easy for me to say, knowing everything I know, but I get it. I see a difference and I see people trying something a little different.
Absolutely. It's very intimidating to try to speak about something that you might not be educated on because that's literally why I haven't had anyone in the beer industry on for 4 years. I just didn't want to have Andy from Hitchhiker Brewing come on and me be like, "Oh, I had a couple Miller Lights in my life," because it doesn't
And I
really
like
give me,
it, yeah.
it doesn't give me any way to speak to him and have a good conversation. But, it's a lack of knowledge, I feel, because it's just people tend to just, try something out and just go with it until it doesn't work. So they just, and until that thing doesn't work, that's when they expand.
And also prices. I do believe this is also a problem, the fact that it is expensive. I mean, even for like good beers, a Miller Lite is different price than, a craft brewing beer. And it's tough because I think there is, especially also the pandemic really helped with that is to shop small because that a Miller Lite, you're just giving your money to a big corporation, and if you go to your craft brewery or like a small cheese shop who has like small producer, you're actually feeding a family, you're putting their kids to school kind of thing. So I think there is a difference, but not everybody can afford it, and we have to acknowledge that as well. It's a fact.
That's very true, and it's true what you said. I've brought this up on here before. In all of the terrible things that happened in the pandemic, one of the silver linings is I really feel like the sense of community has grown because during the pandemic when people were locked in, I saw more support for people because if you have a friend that has a restaurant or a small business like that, they know that they see the reality of what could happen. And I feel like that in the chaos of the pandemic, people started to see like, oh shit, this place could really close and they could be, they're in jeopardy.
To tell you the truth, the pandemic was the most stressful thing I ever lived personally because we ran out of money personally. All of our money got into the shop and we didn't get paid. And we arrived at the point where we're like, well, it's time for us to get paid because we have no more money and the pandemic hit. And I was just like, this is it. Like, if we have to close, we can survive a few months, but like, I cannot survive for years. And people say, oh, the pandemic might not last. And I was like, the pandemic's going to last for a while. Okay, we're here. We're going to stay here
2 weeks and we'll be good.
I was laughing when I hear that. But the thing is, I was crying because it was so stressful, and we have employees, and we had a part-timer at the time that was also a server, and suddenly she didn't have a job anymore, so we took her in full-time, but we just don't know what's going to happen, and we didn't know if we were part of the places that are closing, a specialty store, they keep taking our names out and bring it back and take it out. So, but in the same time, the same week, I was crying because we were open for about 2 years, and sorry, I'm like get emotional, but we were open for 2 years, and since the beginning, we have a lot of people that follow us since the beginning, and will come, regularly to the shop. And these people, and even all the new people who heard about us during this time, like decided to really support us. And our cheesecake, because we have such small producers or things like that people don't know, we pre-order things like 3 months in advance sometimes.
Yeah.
So I am all these weird cheeses are coming in, and I cannot have them try. I cannot have and that's the only way
I didn't think
I'm
about
supposed
that.
to present a new cheese. If you don't know about it, if you don't try it, how can you buy it, right? Like, a whole business model is about try some new cheese.
Wow.
And we were so lucky that we have just people saying hey, $20, just give me whatever you want. And the trust that we gained during these 2 years of being open was, first, I'm going to say I'm very proud of us to have done and did the effort to really try to promote all of this, because it worked for us. To have people to just really just give us all the trust ever,
Yeah.
and keep us open. We were closed for 3 months, and we had a collective, we don't remember. And a few months ago, we were talking about it, and I was like, did we even close? We were working, but we were closed, and we were just delivery and pickups, and all these people really, I've been sharing on social media, it's small things, but it's just noise for all the friends. And suddenly we're oh, wait, that looks good. So
that's literally how I came across you. It's we have this such a powerful tool that costs us nothing for social media.
You don't even have to buy anything.
I know, you don't have to buy anything. And it's just such it goes so far to just share it, to just share a post, because, people, the lack of knowledge, coming back full circle, it all leads to lack of knowledge, because, people want good things. The people that you're trying to appeal to are, there's people out there that want good things. They have the lack of knowledge. They don't know that it exists. Once they do, that it's...
I hear every day, oh, I didn't know you exist.
I had no idea until 2 weeks ago, probably.
And here we are.
I know. And that's just the way things kind of unfold, because I think you're going to be episode 210, and I've talked to all these different people, and I still hear about restaurants that I've never heard about that have been there forever.
Yeah.
And you're just how did I not hear about that yet?
It's the good and bad problem to live in a big city. There's also so many places that come and go, and by the time you reach them, it's already gone.
Do you consider this a big city?
It is. It's part of the 45th biggest city of the U.S., I think. So Pittsburgh, when you talk about greater Pittsburgh, obviously not just the city. Yeah. We still have a lot of people.
Yeah, that's a good point. What about not just the numbers of it, but the feel of it? For you, I live in
the city.
Okay, so you live there. So you've lived in a big city in France, third biggest, you said. You lived in Brooklyn?
Yes.
And you live here. Now, obviously, New York.
I lived in California.
And California, you said.
But that was small. You definitely feel that.
Now, for Pittsburgh, you hear it described as being the biggest small city. And I think that's the best way to describe it because, I've been to California. It sucks to drive an hour and a half to go anywhere, to sit on 5-lane traffic. Pittsburgh's beautiful in that way where we have to deal with a couple tunnels. But once that bullshit is done, you're able to get through it. And it's nice to be able to, for me to drive from here 1 hour away, you're getting literally across the town. You can get wherever you need to go.
Yeah, and when you live in the city, realistically, it's like 10, 15 minutes and you can go anywhere.
Yeah.
Not here during traffic time, but
Do you enjoy it though? Like you genuinely enjoy Pittsburgh?
I love Pittsburgh. It's like everywhere. You're always going to have things that doesn't work, but I think it is always, and it's good because it means change is good. So you always want to improve something.
Absolutely.
And there's no bad idea, but realistically it's just I like Pittsburgh. For me, the big little city. I also had described that when my uncle came visit, he was like, wait, Pittsburgh is huge. I thought you were living in a small town. And I was like, no. So it's just also all this little neighborhood who have their own little town and their own characteristic is kind of fantastic. Like you can literally just go 5 minutes up the street to a different neighborhood and you're totally different world. This is also why I like about Pittsburgh. And also everybody knows each other. Yeah. For a big city, it's incredible to just be also a curse, let's be honest, to be in your pajamas and then you're like, oh, hi.
I know. It is. It's good and it's bad because it's like you came here with Goat Rodeo. It's like randomly I know who they are, but it's like, it's big enough to feel big and, to some extent, have a decent amount of culture for Pittsburgh, I guess, but it's also small enough to be able to, feel, intimate. Yeah, connected. We could, you go to a different part of the town and, more often than not, you're going to see someone, you're going to be someplace you've been.
After working at Whole Foods, I'll say, I knew a third of the city. After a few months, I was like, oh, I know everyone. Let's go to the third cheese.
Yeah, third cheese. What's this one?
So we're going back to France. This is Comté. So let's be careful how we say it because I hear a lot of C word when I
say it again.
Comté. And it's spelled like Comte with a little accent at the end. And this is also it literally is one of the most famous cheese in France after Roquefort. And even now, I think they're making more Comté than they make Roquefort. Don't quote me on that. But yes, it's a firmer cheese. It's aged for 18 to 20 months. It's an Alpine cheese, and Comté realistically is the cousin of Gruyere. So everybody knows Gruyere.
Yes.
And it's oniony and meaty, and all you want to do is melt it over potatoes and just that. This is literally calling my whole body. Comté actually is fruitier and more delicate than Gruyere. And there's this thing that, for wine, you have a wheel of flavor and aroma.
Yeah.
So Comté is one of the most complex cheese because it has the most flavor and aroma than any other cheese. It has about 83 or 86 different ones. So whatever you're going to tell me you smell and taste, you're probably right. So
I can't even tell. I really can't tell.
When we say complex cheeses, we're not especially talking about strong or, very flavorful.
But just so many different things at one time.
So you might, fruit, but you could also nutty, but you can go even more specific, certain type of nuts to vanilla to plum, all this kind of thing. And then I'm going to be yes, it's true. But Comté has been around also I think the 1200, this is when we first heard about fruitière, which is where they age the cheese. This is where they are making the cheese. And it's one of the biggest AOC. We were talking about AOC earlier with Brie and Champagne, being made in Champagne and things like that. So this is one of the first one after Roquefort, that was in 1925. This is in 1958 because of Gruyere. Gruyere is in Switzerland, Comté is in France. And even today you can hear Gruyere de Comté or things like that, which is not allowed, not okay. But even in France, people are still confused by it. But it's a beautiful cheese, and this one is the ager, that's not a thing, age version of it. So the youngest is going to be 4 months aged. 6 months is the most famous one, but realistically this one is 18 to 20 months. And during the holidays, and we're getting 2 wheels this year, we're going to get 36 months.
36 month age.
36 months is incredible.
Is that like the oldest that they'll go for this?
Yes, I do believe this is the oldest.
I'm taking a bite of this.
It's definitely the oldest that we can get in the US, and we were the only one last year to have it in the US, so I was very proud of that. And I went to pick up in France. I went to the cheese affineur and pick it up myself. So
You did?
Yeah.
What an interesting cheese.
And this is also a meltable cheese. So, you know,
All right.
you have little crystals too.
So I feel like I like the texture of these. I like the texture of this one a little bit more because I like a harder cheese. That's like my preference, I guess, way to eat it. The first thing I taste is like sweet at first. It's sweet.
It's fruity,
Yeah.
nutty. I think like fruity and nutty, like to describe this cheese is pretty like straightforward. Like
It reminds me, like you said, nutty because like it almost has like a grainy type of feel, like a consistency, not in a bad way though.
No, but yeah. So we were talking about crystals earlier, and you can see them starting to show up in
Yeah.
there. So the grainy filling of it, these are the cheese crystals that are tyrosine crystals. So think about Parmesan. A real Parmesan Reggiano going to have a lot of crystals, or like aged cheddar sometimes going to get this kind of grainy little white dots in the middle. So that it's not salt. There's a lot of salt in cheese. Actually, this one is the least amount of salt in cheese. But in general, cheese has a lot of salt. So if you're on the salt diet, cheese might not be your favorite thing to eat. But the crystal, a lot of people say, oh, I love the salt crystals in there. Don't say that. Just say crystals because realistically there are tyrosine crystals, and it just happened as the cheese age is realistically pockets of like fat and protein that just gets together and then just crystallize.
Like a concentrated area.
So it's just a kind of crystallized with the lack of oxygen. So what you're going to have is just like these little crunchy bites. And the funny story is it's a natural process. It's something that happened in the process of making cheeses. But for a long time, cheesemaker thought it was a problem, a default in cheese. So like people were trying to make younger cheeses will be like very upset if they have crystals, even though it's natural.
Oh, originally they thought that was a negative thing.
And this is also things here, like I don't have any like a book where it says that on this. But for example, the American Cheese Society that exists in the US is literally all cheese people that gets together once a year, and they're going to be in Portland, but they were in Pittsburgh in 2018 when we first opened the shop, which was kind of incredible for me to see like all my heroes.
Oh, they were here.
They were here.
How many people are involved in this?
My goodness.
Like, is this a big?
It's huge.
Oh, wow.
So it's every cheesemakers, every cheesemongers, like cheese shop owners, to like distributors, to like just cheese lovers.
Where did they hold that whenever it was in 2018? At the convention center?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's that big.
Yes, it's huge. And you have about, at this point, 2,000 different cheeses competing into like, you know, best American cheeses. But it's also the time where cheesemongers or cheese people can actually get certified. So I got certified last year. So you get a huge test about everything, every part of the industry itself.
So you got certified to be a certified cheesemonger. Mm-hmm. Oh, wow.
So this is why I know everything. No, just so I study because I had back surgery and I had nothing else to do. So I decided to put my time in.
Are you someone who like is, you know, go online and just read and read
and buy all the books? I love books.
Yeah.
So I probably read like 60 books.
Wow.
Everything. But yes, the American Cheese Society, I got a little distracted, but it's thanks to them that, for example, you have the cheesemaker and the cheese seller, right, that are all together and realize that the customers actually love the crystals. So suddenly we're like, wait, so we don't have to fight it? We don't have to like try all the time to try to condense that, or like trying different ways to like change the cheese or the recipe to avoid it. So this is also why like the conference in itself is like incredible, that the American Cheese Society also, we were talking about beer and wine and cheese. Cheese people are just the best. It's a fact. We all like. I feel like everybody who works in cheese worked in beer and wine at some point. Like
Yeah, I feel like it all runs together.
It all runs together. Again, is the same principle behind it.
Are you a big wine person?
Yes.
See, I am not at all.
Yeah, I study French wine.
Oh wow.
A little bit, but also I'm French, so I guess again it's the same thing over.
Yeah, you have to.
I kind of have to.
Is there French people that don't like cheese? Is that like?
I'm sure we is.
Yeah, but do you know? Did you know anyone who is just like no?
I don't trust them.
Yeah, I know. I feel like I don't trust them. That's a perfect answer.
No, I mean you have to give me a really good excuse for you to not like cheese because having cheese like lactose intolerance, I'm like, well, actually, there is some cheese that you can probably, but everybody is different. But
I mean, is it customary to have cheese with every meal in France?
Oh, twice a day. Definitely after lunch and after dinner. I feel it's or yogurt, but that's like really like when you're just like I'm really full, so I'm just gonna get a yogurt.
Yeah, just have a little yogurt.
But cheese is between. I always say cheese is between the meal and dessert. So it's because you drink, so you need more food, and you need more food to drink more.
Yeah, it's like a snake eating its tail.
That's why a French dinner is like 6 hours.
That's great. I definitely like this one. I think that's definitely my second favorite. Goat rodeo one was definitely my first. The brie is not bad, but it's coming in last.
You said you didn't like it.
I didn't like it at first. I didn't like it at first. That one, I'll be honest, I would never buy that myself, but I'm not going to like scoff at it. I don't know why.
This is a good thing to hear though. Like, to tell you the truth, Comté is the kind of thing that every French people eat, right? It's like we have the cheaper version to cook with it, but it's a big part of our life. And it's from the Jura region, which is right on top of Lyon. So it's like Burgundy kind of region. There's 3 different like regions that actually make this cheese. It's huge. They make 1.7 million wheels per year. And this cheese, you see, you have the top and bottom. They're like 4 inches.
Yeah.
These wheels are 80 pounds.
Oh, I see it. The big ones.
They're huge.
I remember one day I spent probably over 40 minutes just watching people cut cheese on Instagram. They have like 3 different pieces and like put that little, what's the tools called?
So we have cheese wires. We have cheese wire boards that we use. They kind of look like toys.
Yeah.
Despite the fact they're actually expensive, but they're like little toys for us to be able to cut our cheese. But then Parmesan, for example, you have to have specific knife.
That's what it was.
Because Parmesan, you cannot cut it. You have to crack it.
That's what it was.
So you use actually the scorer to you get to the rind.
Score it, put that little wedge in there.
And then you have like little knives where like pointy and a square one, and you just go around.
Oh, fascinating.
Flip it.
It was a whole Instagram.
80 to 100 pounds. So like, after that, I wonder why I broke my back. But it's not an easy job. But these wheels, we actually don't get the full one all the time. Sometimes we only get half or things like that because we also want your cheese to be the freshest and be able to go around.
Yeah.
I can talk about this cheese realistically for hours because there's so much history in this. Again, this is one of the cheese that has been around since the 1200. This specific cheese, but realistically has been around since before, BC. So. And
you said this is cooked with a lot. Used to cook with a lot.
So yes, we cook it with. We put Comté on everything. But again, it makes sense because all the flavor and aromas. It has so many that it can pair well with everything.
Yeah, it really does. It is good. It's very interesting. It's like almost like a roller coaster where you eat something and like you're about to go up to a hill and then it just goes back down.
And then you go like totally nutty
to another hill. Yeah.
And this is why we talk about complex cheeses. I always say they tell you a story. So you start with something and you finish with something totally different than you start with. But to tell you the truth, this is a hit or miss. This one is the older version. So like some people think sometimes it's too much or it's too peppery or like this.
Peppery.
It depends of the wheel too. This is a raw milk cheese. So like also each wheel is going to be different.
Yeah.
So that's also the beauty of it. Also why you should try your cheese because you might not like the new wheel that we got depending of the season, depending of something happened. It was aged longer, whatever it is. Try your cheese.
That's interesting. Okay. What about this fourth one?
All right. So this one is actually only aged for 4 months, but you will see that it is a little harder than the one that we just had.
You're cutting off the rind.
This one actually has a little layer of wax underneath
Oh, okay.
the smoked paprika. So this is the Marorero con Pimenton, and it is from the Canary Islands, so it's Spanish. And it's made with goat, with Marorero goats, which are native from the islands. And the Marorero goats have like more butterfat than other goats, so it's kind of like richer. And this one is aged, and with the paprika, the Spanish paprika around, it has a very distinct flavor. And it's a beautiful cheese. And when you talk about goat cheese, this is not what you think about. Often you think about chèvre, like something soft. Already when you go to bamboozle, is maybe not something that you're actually like looking at of thinking about really aged cheese. And these are like 10, 12, maybe 5 pound wheels. And so goat cheese, I mean, think about it. Cows make a lot of milk. To make the one that we had just before, it takes about 100 gallons to make one wheel of cheese. So it takes about 20 cows to make one wheel.
Yeah, it's insane.
Goats, like, they don't make that much milk. They're
Yeah.
way smaller. So, like, to see a big format goat's milk is kind of already, like, huge. Like, it's not something you'll find. This is why it's rare to find a goat Gouda or, like, goat big cheeses or aged, because often goat also is the best at this freshness. When you think about goat, you think about fresh. And this is aged and it's big, so it's something a little different. So I would like you to try, because it's something that you might not see actually all the time.
Now, let me ask you this. I look at the first three that I'm looking at, and the thing that I see visually that's different, it almost looks like this one's sweating. Why does that do that? Is there a certain reason why?
Because it's getting hotter,
Oh, okay.
and a cheese will start sweating.
Oh, wow. It smells like... what does it smell like?
Goat.
It smells
This is
like...
ready to smell like goat, like pure goat.
You think so?
The paprika gives like this depth to it.
This is my speed. This is more my speed.
It's aged. It's really hard, and you don't have the crumbly from the cheddar yet. You know, cheddar is very crumbly. That's the first thing you think about cheddar. When you take it, it just crumbles in your hand. And this is due to like how it's made. And this is going to be like they expel as much whey as possible. So goat's milk in general are better, not better for you, but like because goat's milk has different size of protein, a lot of people with who are lactose intolerant can actually do goat's milk.
It's weird.
And sheep's milk as well. And realistically, the percentage of lactose between cow, sheep, and goat are about the same. So it's not actually about the lactose in itself. It's really about the size of the protein that we can digest. Like the cow's milk is just bigger. This is why also I was saying we're all lactose intolerant as humans, but with time we got better. But this is also why when you get older, you might not be able to digest milk the way you used to as a kid. And goat's milk is a great substitution. It's great. It has lower calories in general. It has great minerals and vitamins in them too. And it's way easier to digest. Sheep's milk is the same, but has more calories to it. It has more protein though. So each milk has their own characteristic. So this is why like cheese is wonderful too. It's like you can always find something for yourself.
That's so interesting that you mentioned that, because, you know, this is kind of randomly and off topic, but my dog was having like stomach issues. She just wasn't eating or anything like that. And they said you could use goat's milk, and goat's milk it has probiotics that will help her stomach, and it's easy to digest. And I would have never known that, but now I know why.
This is also why I think is great. You see more and more like goat's milk yogurt, goat's milk, and even sheep's milk yogurt outside in the world, which I think is great because it helps a lot of people to eat. But everybody's different. So realistically, the lactose is still stuck in the whey. So if you have the cheese that is still very soft, like a chèvre, some people might still not be able to really digest that very properly. So the harder, the better. And this is also why if you have a hard Parmesan or cheddar that is so aged, often people can eat them because there's no more lactose anymore. Everything evaporated. And there's also like cheddar or Goudas are made specifically that these steps in the process of making it that cheddar is realistically almost expels as much whey as possible. So like by the end, it's often naturally lactose free. So even if you go to your grocery store and you see Cabot, it says naturally lactose free. Goudas is kind of a wash the curd during the process. So it actually expels a lot of the lactose itself. So again, the harder, the better. Everybody's different. So don't start shoving cheese in people's mouth for no reason. But I do, and I also understand if you're lactose intolerant in your life, the last thing you want to do is try more cheese. But this is why I always, at the cheese shop, when someone's like, oh, I don't know, we have no minimum at all. So it helps for prices because sometimes you cannot afford it and you just want to try something small and things like that. So you just want little pieces. But
Pop
also,
me off a slice. That's what it is.
Yeah. And also, if you want to try a cheese that you might not be able to digest, like I say, we can give you a little sliver and you try it at home, like that you can just like, less like $1 piece of cheese and it's fine. Like that you can see if you actually can do it or not.
And then if worse comes to worse, you're close to home. Yeah.
You're home. This is why I say, I understand you don't have to do it.
Yes.
Also, it takes a while. So if you're walking, like you just, so take it home,
That one is, that one's probably my first favorite out of all four of those.
I mean, you're a hard cheese guy then.
Yeah, I like that one the most. That one was very interesting.
Beer, it's really, really good.
This is the first time I've had cheese with a beer, like a proper. I was thinking that earlier. This is the first time I like sat down and had a cheese spread with beer, and it's.
I used to do a lot of beer and cheese pairing just before the pandemic hit, so I would like to go back in there. If there's any beer people here who wants to contact us, I would be very happy to do that.
Yeah, I would like to attend that for sure. And you said that one was what again?
So it's Marorero con Pimentón, and it's very Spanish. But it's from the Canary Island, and it's the Fuerteventura. And you see the cheese; it's very white, and it is also that's goat's milk. Goat's milk doesn't
change color.
It doesn't change color in a way. It's just like doesn't process the P-carotene that cow's milk does. And sheep's milk is going to be off-white. So like you can actually notice sheep, goat, and cow in your case just by the color. There's always going to be exception, but often that will play a role. Like you see this one is way whiter than this two, for example.
Yeah.
But you see the color of this cheese is like very like orange, red on the outside with the pimenton and very white in the middle.
Yeah.
And if you see a picture of Fuerteventura, which is like the island this cheese is being made, and it's an AOC as well. I mean, DOP for Spanish, but so it's also very strictly made to preserve the culture of this cheese.
Yeah.
Which is very funny. It's like culture for cheese, but. You look at pictures and it's very volcanic and very red, like soil. And you see this cheese and you're like, that makes sense.
Yeah,
and
it does.
I think when we talk about cheese, what we are missing sometimes is where we are. Because we talk a lot about terroir, but like the problem is like if people don't know where it's from, then they don't realize certain things. So like, for example, to me, all the French cheeses just make sense because I know the geographical region of where I'm made. I've been there.
Yeah.
And when you see this cheese, well, it's good and all. And it's great. You don't have to know that. But I think it gives a little more depth to even the cheese in itself because it also makes sense. It's something is hard, is dry like the soil that they have. Like it's red like the soil that they have. And it's surrounded by water. But this is... I think it's really important.
That's very interesting to think about that because it's like, whenever you were just describing like it's cheese created to, be around the area, I immediately thought of like, some places cook differently than others. So they need, might need different consistencies.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, just the kind of animal that you have.
Yeah, that
the
too.
fact that it's goats, it makes sense because cows will never be able to survive there. I mean, I don't know if they maybe have cows a certain part of the island, but they are native goats. And it's the kind of thing that like...
My goodness.
Even in Spain, you have a lot more sheep's milk, manchegos and things like that. They are drier, but it's also part of the culture. So like when you think about really the terroir and the cheese you're eating, it's so much bigger. And in France, for example, you're going to find the goat cheeses like on the west coast of France where, all the way to the Loire Valley is kind of do a crescent like this. And you have the south of France. Well, south of France is drier. So you need it's more like rocky, and you have think about dry herbs or things like that. And so this is what they graze on everything.
Yeah.
And the Alps, you have the cows because it's luscious green grass or things like that. And the goats rustically are not native from France. Goats came with the Saracen. The Saracen came from Spain, so the Ottoman. And we're gonna go European history right there.
That's
but
all right.
Realistically, there's the Saracen that came through Spain, and they came with their goats, and they bring their heritage and their goats and their recipe for the cheese, and then Chantal kicked them out, and then we still keep certain recipes. So this is how history happens. And realistically, this island is from the Canary Island, and the Canary Island are Spain arrived there, took over, colonialism right there, just to get. But it was the last stop to go to the United States. So even when Columbus came, that was the last stop. So they used to just get fresh water and hard cheeses to bring with them to go through all the way to the U.S.
Wow.
So you needed hard cheeses. This is why we have hard cheeses. I mean, I think it's the kind of circle of life and history that just
My goodness.
That people don't maybe think about, but I do, and I read about it.
That's why this is fast. That's why I do this. That's why I literally just talk to people. It's fascinating to me because when, you obviously, your business model is to have people come and inquire about, these delicious cheeses from all over the world. But, not all the time you have that luxury to, kind of pick the brain of people and, learn this complex, in-depth thing. And I feel the podcast provides that. It provides a place where people can go and do that.
And this is also why I do classes, because I think it's fun. I mean, I think it's fun, and I spend all this time to learn all of this. I want to share that.
Absolutely.
What is the point to have this in my brain for myself?
You just sit there dreaming of cheese at night.
It's just cheese. And
now for you to go out to a restaurant and have a good meal, do you find yourself being snobby about cheese?
Honestly, yes.
Yeah. I feel like you have to be, right?
I have to, but I mean, to tell the truth, working in a cheese shop, for example, I would never take a cheese plate. I'm so sorry. It's just, doesn't matter how good it is. It doesn't matter if I provide the cheese. It's just I'm a bit cheesed out in a certain way.
Yeah.
So I do not order cheese plate outside of my workplace. I do cheese for dinner sometime, but I need to be in the right state of mind because it's always there.
Yeah.
But for burgers,
yeah,
is the kind of thing that I would judge you very much on what kind of cheese you put on your burger. Not really, because realistically, I understand,
exactly. But
I personally would be what is the cheese with the most flavor? Kind of thing.
This is how I equate my buddy, he does music. And, if I listen to music, I could listen to it and I could be fine. And I don't hear anything wrong with it. But because it's his profession, he can nitpick and fine tune and hear all these different things that I can't hear. It's just the ignorance is bliss, honestly.
Yes.
That's what it is. But that's interesting because I would assume I would call you a liar if you were no, I don't care what it is.
It was no, yeah, I do care. I do care.
Do you find that as an opportunity to be hey, let me help you level up your cheese game?
It depends where I go.
Yeah.
People with cheese plates, I feel I talk to them and I will always look at cheese selection because it will tell me a lot about them. A big deal, but also the quality of the food in a certain way because if they take the time and effort to research means a lot, people who actually have good cheeses on the cheese plate means they studied, they did the research behind, they just didn't randomly pick a cheese. So I think there's the effort behind it. But I'm the kind of person, for example, if I go to a restaurant, I will not do any substitution because again, there's the work and
yeah.
Food is an art. So even if it's
supposed to
a
be
diner, to me is whatever it is, your restaurant, you put some effort to create a menu and you put some effort to put these ingredients together. Who am I to judge? If I don't like one thing, I'm just not going to take it.
Yeah.
But, it is the kind of thing that's just for the love of food because realistically, if I just eat all the things that I just want, I will just eat the same thing. Or just
creature
continue
habit.
cooking.
Yeah.
I just cook at home because we cook a lot.
You've always enjoyed cooking?
Yes. I mean, my mom always taught me. I remember being 6, probably. I mean, even before, like always cooking with her.
I love it. It's a fun time. Let's break into this last one.
So we're going back to California, actually.
This is California?
Yeah. It's Point Reyes Bay Blue. So Point Reyes, like it was just a milking creamery in 1958, I think. They're like an Italian family that moved and brought the technique with them. And it's not before 2000 that the family, the dad and the mom with their 4 daughters, that decided to make cheese. And they only have very few cheeses. I only tried 2 of them, I think. But this blue is one of my favorite blue. And it doesn't taste at all like a blue cheese that you can think. Especially French blue cheese are very cavey and mineral. And this one is not at all. It's more like a salted caramel. And it's supposed to represent the coastal climate of California. Like it's about an hour north of San Francisco, so it's cooler. It has like grass, it's not like the dry Southern California. We're talking more like up north. And it looks like very kind of white, off-white with like this beautiful vein. And you see a lot of blue in it. And often when you see a lot of blue means it's going to be stronger. But this one is not.
What is the blue?
So blue, if we're talking about the mold of Penicillium candidum for the brie. Well, the blue is just a different mold, which is Penicillium roqueforti from Roquefort. So most of the blues are from the same strain of the Roquefort blue. And there's another one from the Gorgonzola. And they're like the 2 oldest blue cheese that we know of. And Gorgonzola is a blue cheese from Italy. And they have the Glocum. The color will differ. So like one is more green, blue, the other one is more gray-green kind of thing. So that's the difference. And this one also have a nice like dry rind. So often what they do is you can see this beautiful like straight line right here.
Yeah.
So they put the blue like mold in the part of the process at the beginning, but
they put mold in blue cheese in the beginning.
So brie often it can be spread on, or it can be like put afterwards or before, depending of what kind of cheese you're making. But often blue cheese is put at the beginning, and then what you need to do is air, because mold grows
from air,
and oxygen. So there's a Frenchman in the 1850 that actually invented this like needling technique to put needles and aerate your cheese. So you really aerate your cheese, and it can still be made by hand or by a big machine, right? They just put the cheese in the middle and go like up and down like this. It can be on the side. So it gives like different pattern depending of where you put the needles. It can be in both. So like this is what you see right there. This is
that's
a needle.
from a needle. Mm-hmm. Oh my God.
And blue cheese are very salty. And there's a reason they just put a lot of salt, because realistically you see no blue on the outside almost. And it's because they put a lot of salt. And often when you see a blue cheese piece, like there's about half an inch to an inch of like, there's barely any blue. And this is just because they are salting the cheese after they are making it to avoid, the blue cheese to just go everywhere.
Wow.
And when you're making blue cheese, you need a special room to make those. If not, the blue mold will go everywhere. So in our cheese shop, same thing. It's like we're always going to ask you blue at the end, because it's the strongest for your taste buds. So realistically, it's better to do the strong cheese at the end. But also just for cleaning purposes, because if we do blue, we can do blue at the end and not having to clean everything before you use the board and your gloves and everything.
Oh, that makes sense.
So, but after you use a blue cheese, you need to change your knife, you need to change your gloves, and you need to change the board. So like we have a specific blue board, and it's a totally different, often different table.
Wow.
So like it's the kind of thing, is a whole big deal. So like we are just trying to be like, let's do blue at the end, but there's also
there's a method to the madness.
There's a method at the end, yeah. So please try it, because this is really a blue that is aged enough that has sometimes even the little crystals that start happening. So it's still very creamy and fudgy, but yet you sometimes have the little crunch in there. So
how old's that one?
I think this is 3 months, 2 months. I never remember. I'm bad with numbers, so let's be honest. This is hard.
It doesn't really smell
blue.
It doesn't smell like I expected it to.
No, it actually smell already nutty before you even put it in your mouth. It's kind of...
Yeah, it doesn't have like your funky blue cheese smell.
And especially I'm so used to a very French blue cheese and often...
Jesus, it's sweet.
Yes. I'm telling you, salted caramel is like one of the flavor that really comes through.
Wow.
I blew your mind with the last one. I'm so happy.
That is insane. It really does taste like a caramel. Like I feel like you can put it on popcorn. Sweet popcorn.
Actually, blue cheese and popcorn, definitely. Rock River Blue made a little blue cheese powder that was delicious. Very expensive, but it was really good.
I can't believe how sweet it is.
And it's sharp.
Yeah.
It have this really like little sharpness at the end.
It's like it doesn't like take away any sort of that like pungent feel that you want with a blue cheese. It's like
still salty.
Yeah. The texture is great too.
And it's fudgy. Like
Can I eat the rind on that one?
Oh yeah, it's all natural. And this rind doesn't taste like anything,
That's number one.
Hey,
100%. That's number one.
blue cheese. When people say they don't like blue cheese, I understand.
Yeah, because some of them are
very, very, very
rank.
strong. Yeah. But also, it's like goat cheese. I always say, like, maybe you haven't found
That's what it is.
your blue cheese.
That's like my brie. Like in the beginning, like the first time I have it, I had one that I was just like, this is terrible to me, and I just like immediately was just like, I'm not a big fan of that. And I feel like that's how people usually are with blue cheese. They're like, I'm more of just like your typical string cheese or a cheddar person. Is string cheese blasphemy to you?
No, there's some actually real string cheese. Not actually the string cheese package.
When's the last time you had a fake?
No, I don't remember that. I never had that growing up.
Yeah, have you ever had just like a craft singles, American singles? Yes. When do you think the last time was?
At my in-laws, when I met them. I don't want to say it too loud, but so I love my in-laws so much.
Yeah.
First, they let me have a Star Wars wedding, and they were all in, despite the fact that my father-in-law was like, I don't want to do this, and then rented a Chewbacca costume as a surprise. And the entire time, I barely knew them. And I was like, oh no, we're doing our wedding in your house, and you're like, just like, no, I don't want to do this. And then he literally went all in and rented the costume. So
that's the best thing in the world.
I discover I love them, because also my mother-in-law made a Star Wars dress of like children's sheets. And after that, I was like, you're the best people ever. But also, they are incredible. I mean, she was a nurse, and he's a doctor, and they didn't really have time to cook, right? And they overcooked burgers or like, meat, very, well cooked. And since I met them, the love of trying, I see them trying new things and reporting to me like, oh, we tried this, and now we're actually buying good cheese. And yes, we still have that cheddar, that we like, but like, they also buy other cheese, and I'm so happy and proud, because like it shows a lot of love and courage too to try new things.
Yeah, courage, willingness to like, not just, your typical, I'm going to get this ground meat, cook it until it's all the way cooked, slap some lettuce and tomato and some ketchup on it.
And even now, like they cook my steak rare just for me, and they do medium rare now sometime, and I'm like, oh my God.
You're a rare?
Oh yeah, I'm a rare person.
Oh wow, like rare.
Like Pittsburgh blue. For sure. This is why I have a sous vide, just to cook my steak, like just perfect.
That's what I want to get next, strictly for camping. But I'm going to take another piece of this, because honestly, I cannot believe the taste of this.
Yeah, and I think blue cheese sometimes is scary, but like put honey on it.
Oh yeah, that's what
honey is.
I would have never known that.
Yeah, and because this one has a little sweetness, you almost want to put honey on it already. But honey is so sweet and blue is so salty that actually it kind of like counter-interact.
First time I did it was at that Salem shop. They had it was a whipped honey, and they gave me it on blue cheese, and I was like, blue cheese with honey.
Honey,
yeah,
best.
Amazing. Really was amazing.
Dark chocolate as well. Darker the chocolate, the better.
I don't know if I tried that.
Yes, you have to. Because you know why? If you like beer, porters, stout, all these dark beers go with blue cheese. all of these, like especially if you have a stout milk, like a chocolate milk stout or something, or something even with coffee, like the bitterness of that will just match the blue. And you have kind of two different pairing. You can either have something totally clashing to go back together.
Yeah.
Or you have something that just bring it together and it kind of like blends.
Yeah.
And I think like chocolate is the kind of thing that like normally you will go with dessert wine, port or something very sweet to go with that at the end of your dinner. But you can also do porters and stouts to just actually like match this, like you're like fighting flavors that actually get together. I love pairings. I think is the most wonderful thing to try something and we just had one with Churchview Farm where we were doing something this summer and we were all together with Allegra wine and we just tried few wines and cheese and we had this happen. Whereas the first one, it just like match and smooth. It just kind of blends together. So there's no like the wine is, bigger or the cheese is bigger. It's
they
just
complement each other.
Just unison.
Yeah.
And then we have another one that the same thing happened, but we decided to go with the other cheese that clashes because we already had this fresh cheese that goes with that. And to really see the difference when the two flavors are clashing and you can see like someone is trying to get bigger and the other one is like, no, hold on. And you see them fighting until they just join and make, opposite attract in a certain way.
I cannot believe the flavor of the blue cheese. It really did blow my mind a little bit. Whenever you were like, it kind of tastes like a salted caramel. It's almost like, I thought about it immediately whenever people were like, oh yeah, coffee. You could taste a little bit of the chocolate notes in there. And I'm just like, yeah, I bet I could taste chocolate. But that really did tasted like it's very, very sweet. I didn't expect it. Mm-hmm. Really didn't. Now, you have had the shop for a while. You run classes, you obviously, we're kind of like coming out of the tail end of like this terrible fever haze of a pandemic. Now, like, what are your goals for the shop?
So, we decided to actually go inward in a certain way. We were hesitating before pandemic to maybe expand or things like that. A lot of people are asking us to have maybe different shops, and I don't disagree. But we decided to grow inward in the sense to focus more on our employees and how we can, instead of expanding, because if you expand, you stretch yourself.
Yeah.
And right now we are trying to focus on people that we have around, because we realize also we cannot control anything that is happening around us, and all you can control is what's around you. So we're in the process, and I hope it happens sooner than later, but we would like to try and implement 4-day work weeks to put everybody on salary instead of hourly, and just have them work 4 days and 32 hours instead of like 40 hours, and to have a better, like, nice and like life and work balance. Yeah, and have a better life.
You could just say that in general, because everyone that's listening to this all feels the same way.
I worked 7 years without vacation, and I broke my back very young, and I didn't know. And this pandemic, I actually got surgery, and I'm still recovering. Like 2 years later, I just celebrated my 2 years fusion in a certain way, and I might still have another year to like feel even normal.
Yeah.
And I'm way too young for this. Even my surgeon was like, can we wait until 55? I was like, I can't. I cannot even walk my dogs anymore.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So we just kind of realized this is what we have to do. So realistically, me personally, I cannot really be at the counter that much anymore, because the only thing I cannot do is bend and lift, and at the counter is the only thing you do.
Yeah.
But I do classes and events and grazing tables and taking care of also like all the very boring job. And I also do the social media. So I also learn about kind of photography and have fun with photography and do videos and things like that. So if you follow us, you will actually see what I do. But so this is what I'm having fun with. But realistically, we need one more person to be able to achieve what we want to do. And we're not totally there yet, because the pandemic kind of did. I mean,
Threw a wrench in
kind of changed things a bit, but we are still in the goal of doing that. So, for example, this year we implemented like 2 weeks paid vacation. So the little things, but not there yet for our big goal. So
That's great, though.
and we really want to promote education. So, for example, our cheese buyer who took my job, realistically, Andy's been around almost since we opened, and he's going to get his certification this year. And we hope that any cheesemonger who comes to the shop has the opportunity to go to the conference and get certified. So we are both going to Portland this summer, for example.
That's awesome. Sounds fun. I mean, it's definitely, talking to all the people that I've talked to who have restaurants or small businesses, things like that. I feel like, I bring up the pandemic, but it's a reality of life and how people navigated through it, because the people that I'm talking to now are the ones that really found a way to make it through. My buddy owns a restaurant on South Side, and I often speak to him about a lot of things because he's very blunt. He tells me
Restaurant people.
He's the most blunt I've ever met, and he is just anytime I have questions that are just, there's no dumb questions, but it's like I have him on and I talk to him about how you navigate through things and how things like that happen, but. It's wild because it's like, like I said, it was like a fever dream them couple years. And it's like, finally, we I don't know how, this is just my opinion, but it's like, I kind of feel some sort of normalcy again.
I think since the vaccine turned around, suddenly people started going out again and things are opening up. And it's
a weird time.
It's a very weird time. And I think there's a lot of things sometimes it's even irrational.
Yeah.
So you still have certain ideas and you're like,
gotta live.
I did this, or I still do that and I don't know why I still do that. But I think it has nothing to do with cheese, but I do believe we're going to be the trauma that we all lived. I will always remember when the vaccine rolled out, I literally just cried because you realize that we were an entire world in this.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's very weird to have lived the same thing in a certain way, and obviously not everybody deal with the same way, but we still live day to day the same kind of fear. Doesn't matter where you were, unless you didn't have internet, you were part of that.
I think it was a chance to kind of level everyone, level the playing fields. I feel I think about this sometimes, and it's like, some people, I envision an equalizer on a radio or a stereo. It's like some places might have been higher up, some places might have been lower up, but after this pandemic, things kind of reset, because the places that were these real high end restaurants or boutiques or anything like that, they might have just closed down, and some of these smaller people were just equipped more to kind of prosper in these crazy times. And it's interesting to just see how everyone kind of navigated through it and how people were kind of getting out. I
mean, we worked in a lot of restaurant industry, and I think I don't know if it's equalizer. I also think it showed the truth behind everything.
Yeah.
I think a lot of restaurants just run on a very thin rope, very, very cash trap.
Yeah.
Strap, sorry, not trap, cash strapped. And you can see that the people who didn't have any backup, went down very fast, and it was a nightmare to navigate all the helps that were not coming.
Yeah, for sure.
And I just, it's, yeah. I don't know. It was a very weird time, and I think everybody tried to do their best how they could, and not everybody did, unfortunately, especially in the restaurant industry.
And now
when you think about the servers and, we can go on and on. And
I know.
It was very disturbing in the same time to see, and I was really so glad I was not a server anymore. I don't know how I would have handled this crisis as being a server. It was hard enough to be at a counter, but we could close our doors and we could take the precaution that we could take for the time that we did. It was weird. I think everybody was on survival mode a lot.
Yeah, it's wild, and thankful that made it out the way we did.
I know.
Okay. Do you think that there's anything that I didn't really touch on as far as cheese. Are you ready to move to the ending segment of the podcast?
Yes, I think we talked.
I think we talked.
Deep dive in a lot of things.
I think we did good.
I was going to do.
I think we did good. I think that was great. Now, what do you do besides cheese? Like if you're not doing cheese, you're obviously like a nerd.
Running a business.
Besides business, if you take the business out of all this, like what do you do for fun?
Nothing.
Did you watch the new Star Wars series?
Oh, well, yes. Okay. Yes.
You liked it?
I did. Obi-Wan Kenobi?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
I didn't watch it yet.
Oh, well, never
Don't
mind.
tell me. Don't tell you none of the endings. Everyone says it's great. I need to catch up on a lot of it, but
No, it was really, really great.
Are you people that watch TV shows, movies a lot?
Yes.
yeah.
This is what we do.
Yeah, that's what we do too.
Because we're so tired. The only thing we can actually do is go.
We just come home and put something on.
Yeah, we are watching Veronica Mars right now.
Veronica Mars.
Yeah, it's one of my husband's favorite shows. So.
I'm a big Kristen Bell fan.
Yes, I mean for him. So it's
I
been
loved
10
Gossip
years.
Girl.
Oh, that was I did watch that, and I'd read the books when I was a kid.
Wow.
So, few of them.
I don't know why I watched it. I watched 140 some episodes of that. I spent a lot of time of my life. Really, it wasn't that good of a show.
No, not at all. It's like, but the storyline you want to know. I think is the idea of like you want to know.
I feel like I knew who it was from the beginning.
Yeah.
I think my wife actually told me, and I was like, no way, it's him. But sorry if I spoiled it. It's 10 years, 15 years
you
later.
should know at this point. No, it's funny. I didn't watch the entire thing. Let's be honest, but. Yeah, I think also talking about pandemic, like I think rewatching shows that you are comfortable with is also it helps with your anxieties.
Oh yeah.
But it's funny because this show is, my husband loves it and been really trying for me to watch it for the past 10 years of our married life. And I never wanted to until this year. And I don't regret, but.
What show? Veronica Mars?
Yeah,
okay,
Mars.
yeah. That's fair.
And now he's like, so are you happy to watch it?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, I am.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
You got to have compromise.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the ending segment that I do with everyone is an ending segment called Desert Island Questions. This is going to be fun. Have you listened to any of the podcasts so you don't know what these questions are?
I haven't had the time.
That's fine. I don't want you to. So the ending segment is whenever I give each guest 3 categories to take with them on a desert island and use until they starve to death and die. First category, 3 things to watch on a desert island. You get to pick 3 movies to watch over and over and over again.
And it's just movies.
Well, you could pick a TV show if you want.
Oh, but I'm French with so many things. Oh, that's
all right.
Okay. Oh, this is an impossible question. Oh, no. I can't.
Well, that's why I ask these questions at the end, because I don't want people to prepare for them, because I want to ask the question and I want things that are just like pop into your mind.
Okay, so what part of our life are we talking about? Because like
Right this second.
Right this second. Okay.
But it could be movies from whenever you were a kid. It could be anything.
Okay, I got it. Okay, my favorite movie that will take on the desert island. It will probably be Le Moulin Rouge.
Moulin Rouge?
Yes.
Okay, that's good.
I loved it as a kid, and I watched it maybe a million times. Well, 6 times probably. That's a million times for me. But yeah. Also, and Ewan McGregor is so cute.
That's a good one.
And Nicole Kidman is so beautiful.
It's been a long time since I watched that.
I forced my husband to watch it, and it's actually pretty good. The thing is, watching it at different age, I realized different things.
Oh,
also.
yeah, absolutely. If you watch a Disney movie at a different time,
yes,
you're
you
like,
miss a lot.
This is messed up.
Oh, yeah. If not, probably Moana, definitely. Or like...
Moana? I haven't watched that one yet. Everyone said it was great.
Beauty and the Beast, too. Oh, my God.
The original?
No, the new one with Emma Watson.
That one was great. I was very surprised how good it was.
I have a weird feeling about Disney, but also I grew up with it. So I do watch a lot of that. And
I like
also,
Disney movies.
I think, so during the holidays, for example, this holidays, I probably made 200 plates in 1 week and a half, something like that for the holidays. And I was just making cheese plates like for hours. And the only thing that keeps me awake during this time is to listen to Disney songs.
Oh, I will listen to it and I will sing it
in French, English, all of them.
Anything.
Because it's upbeat, and I also understand the lyrics, and I can sing along, and and it's going to be like 18 hours of that. I'm going to be like totally insane, but you're totally insane by the time the holidays are over anyways, after like 2 months, but recently like almost 4 months of stress happening. It's the busiest time of the year for us. And,
I bet.
And realistically, like Disney songs are the only thing that keeps me awake and upbeat and very happy.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, you can't really, you
can't
can't
go wrong.
You
It's
can't do
very
it.
nice.
Be our guest. Come
I
on.
know.
I'll sing it till the cows come home. Okay, so that's a good handful of things to watch.
Yeah.
Okay, second category.
Sorry, I picked more than once.
That's all right. You're supposed to pick 3, and you picked 3.
Oh, a 3. Okay, cool.
That's all right. Second category is I'm going to let you pick. You could either pick books. You said you read a lot. Yeah, so let's do books. I usually ask people to pick 3 books, and people are like, I don't read.
Oh, no, I read a lot, and maybe too much, because I also read in French, and I'm trying to kind of pick something that is not just pure French.
That's all right. It could be pure French. You still read a lot?
I still read a lot, but right now I'm reading nonfictions. Actually, I'm rereading Harry Potter. I would probably pick all the Harry Potter books because I grew up with them.
I never read them.
I was his age. I was born in July. It was part of my life. And
Are you 32?
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, how could you not enjoy it? My wife does not like Harry Potter.
My mom didn't like Harry Potter, and we shared every books, and she was the only. The thing is, I've always been into kind of witches and
I love it.
vampires.
Oh yeah,
let's be honest.
I got monsters tattooed all over my legs. I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
You've ever seen Practical Magic?
No. My favorite TV show. I know it.
What is it?
The Magicians.
I never seen that. My brother's been trying to get me to watch it for 4 years.
Let's be honest. The book is horrible writing. I don't want to say that too loud, but
The show's good.
The show is actually one of the best show I've ever seen.
I think on my Netflix queue where you could make a watch list,
Yeah.
I think there's only 2 things that he put on there like 4 or 5 years ago that was like, you got to watch these. Never did.
We watched it many times, and is the kind of show that also is so critical of what you're doing.
Yeah.
And also switch on you. And also you analyze yourself at the end. You're like, okay, I feel seen right there, because like you kind of, they really, it's one of the best show. And
Magicians.
yeah, you think you're following something, and at the end, what a twist.
I know. I remember him telling me that. I'm going to have to watch it now.
And it really hit a lot of issues that are important in a really right way. And it's actually kind of like a Harry Potter for like adults. So like personally, it was just perfect. This is why I read the books, and there's an Anaïs in the book that didn't make it to the show, and I was sad about it.
Really?
But it's okay.
How many seasons is Magicians? Like 4?
4 or 5.
Yeah, I remember I was like, oh, it's over 2. It's a commitment.
Yeah. No, it's worth it.
I know. I'll have to watch it. I will. I'm going
back to books.
I'm going back to books, but in October, we're going down to see Harry Potter World. And my wife, I'm trying to force her to watch the movies with me. And she loves witches and everything. She will not watch Harry Potter. Thinks it's terrible. Twilight, all of it. Terrible.
Well, okay. Twilight, no. Okay. Well, fine.
Whatever.
I actually enjoyed the books, but in French. Apparently the translation was better in French than in English. I mean, than what it was written in English.
Yeah.
There's few books like that were so much better translated, weirdly, and where the translation didn't make it to the US like properly, so it didn't happen.
That's interesting.
No, it's weird because I mean, Harry Potter is just like a comfy thing. It makes me happy. But
Plus, there's a lot.
Yeah, but it's kind of the author itself, I'm not a big fan, but
understandable.
The movies is the kind of thing that also like it was when we go to my in-laws during Christmas or like Thanksgiving. It was always a marathon.
100%.
So for years, it was always behind us, like during the holidays. So I always also have this assimilation of love and family too. And so when we open the shop, we cannot go to see our in-laws during the holidays because from Thanksgiving to Christmas, we're just gone. We are just corpse, like going around. And so in January, often every year, we just rewatch all the movies.
It's the best.
And it was so comfy.
They're so good. I mean, I'm going to force her to watch them before we go down.
You have to.
I'll give you all the Harry Potter books.
All right. That's just one book.
Okay.
My favorite cheese book.
Yeah, I mean,
There is a book. I don't really ever know who wrote that, but it's about the history of cheeses. And then we actually sell it at the shop. Probably only have one copy. It's so hard for me to get it, but it's from the Neanderthal to today's date, and it's very kind of boring in a certain way because it's all about history and how cheese happened from along the ages.
that's all right. It'll probably entertain you.
But yes, I absolutely love this little book. I think is the mashup of like history and cheese together for me is kind of perfect.
Well, that's good.
So this is definitely is culture. I cannot remember names or.
I know.
numbers,
I don't blame you. I don't blame you. I'll let you take the cheese Bible, and I'll let you take all the Harry Potters. Let's go to the third category. Third category is 3 CDs.
I'm terrible at that because all my music is French. My first CD of all time will be a French band called Trio, and is their first album.
What kind of music?
It's this kind of French variety / ska / festi ska, but it's not the ska that you know in the US.
Not like Real Big Fish.
No, not at all. And it's very political, and it also has like, it's more like old school French. Like we're talking about.
How do you spell it?
Gainsbourg. It's Tryo.
Tryo.
And it's a band that has kind of like reggae as well, and it's all kind of mashup, and also a little bit of like cultural music part of it, because they really like talk about issues around the world and political issues. So it kind of match all of this. And it's funny because I started listening to that when I was 6, and then I was like, I'm wondering who I am and then I was like, well, that's the music you were listening to. So.
It's like me at like 7 or 8 years old listening to Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah. And then you're just like, who was that?
Yeah. So what are they talking about?
The National, I love the Nationals. I don't really know CDs anymore. I never had CDs.
That's all right. What about artists?
The Nationals, yeah, in the Counting Crows, but that I would say is my husband.
Counting Crows.
That's my whole husband's fault.
That's all right though, but that's like out of left field. That's so great.
I do have to admit that's solely him.
That's good though.
Yeah.
That's probably whenever I give people these things, some people will take movies or anything that reminds them of loved ones, like Kevin Resnick, who runs CCR Gardens. He was like, I'm going to take. The one movie, he was like, reminds me of my kids. And I was like, that's fair. That's a good answer. Counting Crows. My brother had a dog named Mr. Jones.
Oh, yeah.
R.I.P. to the goat. Okay. Third to last category. Actually, I'm going to throw in a couple more questions because I'm curious. What is your favorite cheeses? Like, if you had to pick a couple, like, do you have like an ultimate favorite?
No.
Okay, that's fair. What about?
No, I can't.
What about one you dislike? Is that easier to pick?
No.
Is there's no cheeses you dislike?
The only cheese I ever disliked for real, and even that, I want to try it again because sometimes you're not in the mood.
Well, that's fair.
Sometimes, these cheeses that I hated the first time I tried them, and then like 10 months later is my favorite cheese. So like, it's really, cheese is all about your mood, the weather. Like I always say, like sometimes you can see me at the shop because I'm like, oh, this is my favorite cheese, and then I was like, but this is my favorite cheese, and this is it. And I was like, and literally 20 minutes later,
something different.
I may have a fight with my husband, and the next time it's like a totally different kind of cheese, stronger or something. And I don't have any favorite cheese, but the cheese I tried. It was during the American Cheese Society conference, and this person who came to the shop, it was my birthday. Our cheese case literally died, and we were like at the busiest time since we opened, and it just broke, and we had to close like half an hour early, which wasn't a big deal, but like still, it was my birthday. I didn't want to spend my birthday. And spending the whole entire week speaking with all kind of people, and I was exhausted. But we had this person coming with some Italian cheese, and they were all raw sheep's milk. And we were drinking wine while the cheese being like fixed, and we're just drinking wine and eating cheese. And the last cheese, he was like, okay, this one is going to be rough. I was like, okay.
They told you that?
Yeah. I was like, okay, we're preparing ourselves.
Wait,
Because,
wait. They say if this is going to be rough, they're telling a person who owns a cheese shop, you know it's going to be pungent, right?
You know this is going to destroy your mouth. So, like, you're just like, all right, hold on, I'm ready. And realistically, it was a cheese that was made this like the same way than in Afghanistan, where they dig a hole in the sand and they put it in a hole and we put a candle in it and then we close the hole and they lit the candle and the candle will kind of like burn all the oxygen in, and this is how they ripen the cheese.
Oh my God.
And I don't know, the cheese traveled, okay? So
Yeah.
like these cheeses where even here, French cheeses, you get them in France and you get them
different.
here. Totally different cheese.
Yeah.
And I tried it and I was like, this is the most horrific thing I've ever tried. I don't think I said that right in his face, but I was something like, this is not something I can eat.
What was it? Was it texture? Was it
It was the texture.
what kind of texture?
Oh, I'm trying to remember because it was like it was very creamy and yet with the like crystally but it was so pungent and it was so sharp.
Yeah.
And it was just so much in my face.
Yeah, too much, overwhelming.
And again, I would love to try it again because like it's the kind of thing that maybe
You might like
I
now.
was just like at this time, this hour, at this day of this year is something I was not prepared for. But it's the kind of thing that I'm always open to try
When
something.
you are trying cheeses, do you try them with crackers or do you usually just try them by itself?
I always try cheese on their own.
Yeah.
First, even when I do pairing, I always say like try them first and then try with the pairing because realistically the pairing will affect your cheese. We were talking about going together or separate. So like it will affect, sometimes you could get the fruity notes or you get more the nutty notes if you add something to it. So I really like to just try them on its own.
Get the real deal.
Real deal. And then I can do whatever I want with it.
Yeah, then you could add whatever else.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. Okay, so the third to last question is something called the death row meal. So, do you know what sound that's from?
A bell.
That's the Undertaker from WWE. But I figured you didn't know what that was.
Yeah.
But third to last category, death row meal. That means that you're about to get put to death tomorrow. You get one last meal, you get an appetizer, a main course, and a dessert.
Okay, you got it. I definitely will have shrimp as appetizer and oysters. Can that bet together?
Yeah, that's fine.
Cool. Actually, a seafood platter.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's appetizer.
I love an oyster.
Like they're all the seafood. Anyway, then I will have a nice, beautiful steak, thick.
It's definitely the most picked answer on here.
I mean, I'm sorry. I'm not.
That's all right.
I'm not vegan.
Raw, or you
Yeah, almost raw. It's still moving. Like
you're just like basically, and then
actually
you're done.
a beef tartare would not be.
I love beef tartare.
I will totally take that as well. But I think a nice steak with a nice sear, with maybe a wine sauce or a blue cheese sauce on top.
I love a blue cheese sauce.
I'll take that. Potatoes. I will definitely have potatoes with it. And maybe some veggies because at the end I was going to be like, I need some veggies. I don't care about the veggies. You can give me whatever you want with it. But definitely some potatoes. I would like my potatoes to be au gratin.
Yeah.
Some cream and some nice cheese on top, but the good cheese. And
The good cheese.
the right cheese. So like a nice Gruyere, something like that. And then, do we have dessert?
Yeah.
Okay. And dessert, I'm not a huge dessert fan.
Really?
Cheese?
Yeah, I
Because
guess.
cheese is dessert for France. But like if it's something sweet. Oh yeah, I really don't know.
You're really not a sweet person?
I am not. And my
What's-
my husband loves ice cream so much that we just eat ice cream all the time.
That's fair.
And it's fine.
Yeah,
I
ice
love
cream is
it.
great.
He makes his own ice cream, so I cannot.
Oh, he does?
Yes, I
Wow.
am so lucky.
Yeah, that's lucky.
And yeah, maybe that's a different part of our business. The cheese ice cream.
Cheese ice cream. I feel like I've had goat milk's ice cream
Yes.
somewhere.
Yeah. they exist. Jenny's has one. I think Millie's may have made one.
It was at Millie's.
Millie's actually made, it was like a love letter to small businesses. It was so sweet. And they made a Gouda and pear ice cream with our Gouda, and it was so good.
When was that?
That was like pre-pandemic. So whatever.
A while
year
ago.
Before. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it was the year before. So 2019.
Because that goat ice cream, I just got probably 3 or 4 months ago. I went into there. They just opened one down here, and I said, I asked the girl behind the counter, I said, what are you eating? And she said, this is called goat. It's made from goat milk. And I got it, and it was great. Very different.
Yeah. I mean, you get the fresh and tang of the goat. Now, goat's milk ice cream, like Jenny's is also opening soon in Bakery Square, and they have also a good ice cream and things like that. There is a couple that exist, but nothing like what my husband is making.
Well, I'm going to try it.
And very few already have tried, but
didn't succeed.
Very few. You need to be in the special place.
Well, if that happens, let me taste test the goat ice cream, and I'll be very honest. Okay, so second to last question.
It's not just goat. Is all I'm saying.
All right. I'm excited to hear more about it after.
Well, then you're gonna have my husband in the podcast.
I for real, I would love to have him over and talk about. You said he's into chocolate. You said he's into coffee.
Yeah, I mean, he's learning right now. The problem is our cheese shop's taking too much of his time. But I think his next move will probably he's really studying and learning on his own. But yeah, it's something that's his project. That's his passion.
I love it. I love anything that I get interested in. I try to get as hands-on as I can. I love coffee. I wanted to roast my own coffee. I roasted my own coffee. You know, I like being as boots on the ground as I could be. Okay.
He's like that too.
It's the best. Why not? It's so much like I started growing my own peppers and stuff out there, started making my own hot sauce. And it's like just the fulfillment that you get from creating something
from scratch.
It's just so much more.
I love manual labor or even like just cooking for that matter. Like to start we always cook everything from scratch, which is ridiculous sometimes, but like it makes it so much better. From nothing to create something so beautiful.
During the pandemic, I became a sourdough baker.
Oh, you're one of these people.
I am, but I have to be honest. I got pretty damn good at it. I definitely perfected the sourdough. Haven't done it in a while since my starter died. But
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
R.I.P. starter.
I know. I dropped the whole thing and it broke, and I was like, damn it.
Oh,
no. Okay, second to last question. This is the most telling question that I ask on all this, so you'll definitely be judged.
Scary.
Who did you vote for? No, I'm just kidding.
I cannot vote.
I know, I'm just kidding. That's
I literally am not a citizen.
I know. I didn't even think about that the other day. My boss, I was like, we were talking about stuff, and he was like, yeah, I can't vote. I've never been able to vote. He's originally from Holland, but it was interesting. Didn't even think about it. But
it's not something people think about.
I know people don't think about it.
And I'm like, well, actually, I'm trying. I mean, I'm trying to get my citizenship this year. So
I'm sure we'll
see
hoops you got to jump through, but oh yeah. Everything's
just money.
Everything's money. Second to last question, most telling. If you're getting ready to go on a road trip, you go into a gas station to get a snack. What would it be?
I don't snack.
You don't snack?
I don't snack. I do not understand Americans. You go and there's just snacks everywhere. I'm so sorry. Okay, so if I go in a gas station, I will probably get a Kinder Bueno.
A Kinder Bueno.
Yeah.
Because I just had one for the first time like a week ago.
Because it's the only thing I know.
Wow.
I'm sorry. I really do not snack.
That's fine.
Actually, yeah, it's a problem because sometimes I'm hungry and I'm like, no, I'm going to have to make a whole thing. Yeah. You know, it takes me an hour later and I'm like, oh, that was my snack.
Yeah.
I cannot just snack.
That's interesting. Okay. Last question that I ask everyone. If you could have a conversation with anyone alive or dead, who would it be and why?
I really don't care. No one.
No one?
No one.
There's not a single person that you would...
Listen, when you die, you die. It's like rest in peace.
No. I've had everyone, 209 people answer this. If you were just sitting in a place, I'm not saying if you were dying.
No,
I'm saying if you could have a conversation with anyone, they could be alive or dead, real or fake.
Okay.
You don't have no cheese people you want to talk to?
I already talked to them.
Oh, no big deal. All right.
This is what the cheese conference is there for.
I find it.
This is very hard question. I just feel like
You talk to everyone you want to.
I do, and if not, just read a book. So personally, I feel like reading a book is reading someone's mind. So it's really, I know. And it's so sad I didn't pick any of his book, but actually Haruki Murakami is one of my favorite author, and I will totally talk to him.
That's great. See?
Yes.
That's all it needed at 1 second.
And it's so weird because I did not pick any of his books.
That's all right.
It's so weird.
That's.
He's a Japanese author, and he's kind of incredible.
I'm going to look him up after.
Yeah. And he writes nonfiction and fiction. He's the one who write about like when I talk about running or things like that.
Ah.
And he also interviewed like a composer,
Composer.
a maestro, like a conductor of a symphony, and he wrote just an interview, and it was a whole book, and it was one of the most interesting book ever to me.
Wow.
I love classical music too, so
That's fantastic.
I'm a very eclectic person.
I feel like that our conversation was fantastic. Do you have any idea how long we've been talking?
Probably way too long.
2.5 hours.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, 2.5. I feel like that right there will tell you it's a great conversation. I never put.
I'm so sorry.
Don't apologize at all. Did I sound disengaged whatsoever?
Yeah, no.
Never once. No. I think that this was a fascinating conversation.
I'm so sorry. Who's going to listen to this?
You'd be pretty surprised. Just rolled over 100,000 downloads not long ago. So people are listening. This is actually, surprisingly, this is going to come out on my birthday, which is going to be Thursday. So this is a special episode, but this month actually is a record-breaking month for me as far as listens.
Congrats!
Thank you.
It's always great to have a milestone like this.
Record-breaking, and I usually put one out a week, and I skipped last week, and it's still a record-breaking month. So
here we go.
I'm pretty happy about this. So this is going to be a great conversation.
Happy birthday!
Thank you very much. It's a great birthday. I'm happy that we were able to make this happen as quickly as we did. I was very surprised that you were like, I could probably do. Yeah, let's do Tuesday. I was like, all right, great. Now, I mean, I couldn't be more thankful for you to cut some time out of your day and talk to me about this. But please take some time and promote all that you do with your husband.
You can follow us on social media on Facebook and Instagram at Chantal's Cheese, with the S in the middle. And we do our classes. You can find all of our schedule all the way to September on eventbrite.com. And we will open more classes along the way. We have a little cheese easy now at this point. So this is cute. We have a little classroom. And and we also partner a lot with local businesses. We have, for example, a class with AR Workshop in Robinson where you build your own tray, and then I teach you how to make a cheese and charcuterie tray in the same time, where you can sip wine while you're doing all of it. So it's a lot of fun.
Is that the place in the mall?
Across the mall. I think it's just next to Coldstone.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about now.
So we do these pretty frequently, but we just did the same thing, but at Strange Roots, for example, a couple weeks ago or last week.
You're doing all kinds of stuff.
I'll do all kinds of things, and I love doing pairings again. So I'm gonna start to really hit up some brewing companies and wineries to
why not, right?
Pairings. And again, we have the one at Churchview Farm that's going to happen. They haven't released the tickets, but it's going to be in August, the beginning of August. So it's going to be wine and cheese pairing at Churchview Farm. So it's pretty cool. I
have had a wonderful time. I could not thank you enough for bringing me this cheese to try. Absolutely a journey. I would say that. The brie,
still not your favorite.
It's not my favorite, but I don't hate it. I took a second piece of it.
You did.
That I did not expect to, but
try with some berry jam or something.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Mm-hmm. That's how I ate it the last time. I had some. I made some compote or something and put it on there. Or even
just apples or
anything like that.
You make a sandwich with apples and brie, and you can even grill it. Grilled cheese.
Opened me up to a whole new world of things. Thank you again, everyone else that's listening. Appreciate you as usual. Another great week with another great guest doing a lot of great things in the city. Thanks again for listening. Call you right back.